About our shirts. There's so much to talk about. Mm.
All right, welcome to
Top.
Let Freedom Ring. Very special edition here. Before I get anything, I want to give a big shout out to my boy Harrison Perez. We're all thinking of you. We love you. We're hoping everything's gonna be okay. And you go, boy. But my two guests here to rank the Friday the 13th movies, I have Herbert Daniel Cornell,
The
aka
third.
Herbie the third, I'm sorry, aka
Esquire.
Herbie Dan, aka used to be Fun Dan. That's a shout out to Jesse Martineau.
Yeah.
And we also have Anthony Brogna. I say that right? I said that
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yep. AKA Royce Bishop. Guys, welcome to the show. This is going to be a lot of fun
Mm.
tonight.
Thank you.
Looking
Um,
forward to
Ready.
it.
Now, Anthony's been on the show a few times. Herbie, can you tell us anything about yourself? We haven't had you on the show before.
Yep. So I work with Dan and did a lot of hiking back in the day when I used to be fun. And then then you got tons of stuff to do as you get older. But and then COVID and then all that fun stuff. But yeah, I've been a big horror fan. I think forever because my brother used it as a torture device. He was 10 years older than me. So, yeah, Children of the Corn when I was little, of course, Friday the 13th, and
That movie scared the hell out of
Jason.
me
Yeah, yeah.
as
He
a
told me
kid.
it
Children of the
was
Corn is
real,
freaky.
and
Malachi.
we lived in a farm, so I really believed it. And he said, our parents are dead and they're never coming back and all that stuff. So, like, fond memories of growing up.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we'll get right into it. I kind of want to know. First thing is, how did you guys become a fan of the series? Anthony, how did you become a
Mm.
fan of the Friday 13th?
Um, I think, I mean, I was young, and I feel like every kid has done this, right? But I was Jason for Halloween. I
Mhm.
feel like most kids were, but we didn't really have much money, so we bought like this glow in the dark hockey mask. I
The
don't
white
even think
one.
it was, yeah, like I don't even think it
Yeah.
was like the actual official Jason one. It was just like a cheap copy that you get at
Mm.
like CBS, and I put like some fake blood on like a hatchet. I wore my stepdad's sweater and put some holes in it and some fake blood dripping off it like I got shot. It wasn't a real costume at all or anything like that. But yeah, it's just like you just catch them on TV, right? Like I never watched the real ones. Like I mean, I'll date myself here, but like I didn't have them on VHS. Like I wasn't really. My mom wasn't gonna let me watch watch the stuff that goes on in those movies, but you'd always catch the edited version, online on TV.
Mhm.
Obviously during like Friday the 13th time, right? Just like this Friday coming up, just catching the marathon, seeing pieces of it. I can't even tell you when the first time was I sat through a whole one. But as we talk about it later, I was definitely in the zombie Jason more. Like I was into that more as growing up until I got old enough to kind of go back and watch the whole franchise.
Nice, nice. Herbie, how did you become a fan?
I think the earliest one I recall is watching part 6 and being 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that. And there's a window in one of the scenes where Jason's looking through a window at the kids on the bunk beds or whatever. And I had that same exact looking window in my room. So like every night, and it was about head height, like my dad could stare in and see like into my room or whatever. And so like every night I thought like Jason was gonna get me through that window if I looked and saw like a flash of lightning. So it was that, and then I think the mystery and like the box art of like Ant mentioned the VHS tapes, like the box art of some of those, and the box art for the video game. I mean, just like it's so scary. And I was like, man, that character is so cool. And I think I also probably saw them on like AMC or something like that early on in the big marathons, and they would just play all of them all day, and you would just keep putting in VHS tapes and recording them and watching the watered down versions. But I think that was pretty much it for that. And then of course having an older brother, right? It gives you all the bad stuff to watch. So
Yeah,
And
no.
from that generation too, right? Like where you go to Blockbuster or whatever, and you're young, but you kind of walk through the horror section, and Herbie said it perfectly. Like especially the first four, like the box art for the first four with the outline and like the camp, like inside of it, like that was, then you have the 3D one where like it's actually like showing the knife coming towards you, like that was. That was something that was kind of scary, just even as a little kid, like walking through a Blockbuster video and seeing that,
so much more mystery with it, because you would flip the box over and there would be 3-4 stills, and they of course would be like the best parts of the movie or something like that. So be like, oh, this is this is gonna have like a lot of these kinds of scenes and stuff, so you'd have to really draw in and watch them to like figure out what was going on. It wasn't like you could just pull it up on YouTube now. It's so much easier.
Yeah, it was definitely very different back then, for sure. Myself, as I said in the Halloween episode, Anthony was a part of that. I didn't get into horror until like college. Like it just was not something I ever cared to get into as a kid. And I started watching the Halloweens first, and then I was like, okay, I've heard of Jason all these years. What actually goes on in the, and then I bought, just kept buying them all. Like, because I remember like Walmart, you could buy them for like $5 or whatever. And now you can buy like the whole thing for like 20 or whatever. So that's how I kind of get into it. And then I just got hooked on horror. Now it's like, I think it's my favorite genre, which growing up, I think it was just comedy, and I wasn't even that big into Disney movies, so I don't know what I watched when I grew up. The Sandlot, I guess, was my movie, but
Sandlot and Goonies on repeat.
But anyways, where does this franchise rank for you guys? Is this one of your, we're all fans of it, but there's other, obviously you got the Freddy's, you got the Halloweens, you have now I'm finding a lot of people love the Hatchet series, which I own, but I'm like, it's not as good. Anthony, where's this franchise rank for you?
I think it depends. If we're talking, I mean, are we thinking just strictly slasher movies, or are we talking horror as a genre?
As a genre, I would say.
Yeah. So, as I said on the, hopefully everyone goes back and watches the Halloween one if you haven't seen it yet. Halloween reigns supreme for me. I would say from an iconic standpoint, I'd put Jason as number 2. But from a movie standpoint, I'm a huge fan of the Saw series. I'd say that's probably number 2 for me as an overall series. I think Scream had the potential to be there, and it kind of fell off after 2. So I'd put it right like neck and neck with Nightmare on Elm Street for like that third spot, but definitely Jason being like, the second most. I think he's the second most iconic for me. Michael Myers being first, and I think Freddy comes in third for like iconic slasher.
Yeah, I think for slashers, Friday the 13th is number 1 for me. Halloween's definitely 2. I think Halloween, the first, the original, is, I mean, it's kind of the first ship that sailed. So, and it's done really well. I think it's done better than all these movies probably. But I think just the iconography of Jason, like really, I became super obsessed with it. Just the cool mask and all that stuff. Plus, I played hockey as a kid, like that probably had an association. But and then Freddy's like a third. But I've been really into more like kind of like artsy horror movies, like Hereditary. And there was this recent one from England called Censor that was really interesting and like very trippy and stuff. So I've been into that kind of stuff. More so lately, just I don't know, different things, because I've seen every slasher, so it's kind of nice to like mix it up with some like psychological stuff or ghost or whatever.
And you can bury yourself in some really bad slasher movies.
Oh,
I mean, there is so really many during that time period. All those copycats are so bad.
COVID, we've got Shudder, and there's some good stuff on there, but like I watched The Burning and like a bunch of the Hatchet stuff, and it's like it's okay, but I think the younger Herbie would have liked it. But now I've seen so many.
Hatchet gets frustrating because it's too like, I think it could have been so good, but they want to do like the comedy mixed with the horror that like I found myself getting a little annoyed.
I think self-aware.
I think Victor Crowley could be like awesome, like beyond awesome, but like they kind of messed it up. I don't know.
I think the rebirth of the slasher franchise, like after like the slash, I mean it's a whole genre pretty much like within horror. I think the rebirth of it after Scream spawned better movies and series than like the 80s ones did. Like My Bloody Valentine, I don't find to be good, and a lot of that stuff that came out in the 80s. And I mean, there's so many, you can't even think of them. You could go on and see all the D-list movies that tried to copy Jason, but I think, and it could be my age, but like that late 90s, early 2000s run of like the I Know What You Did Last Summers and Scream and Urban Legend. You get The Wrong Turns, if you kind of can count that, maybe not so much, but I think there was a better run after Scream. So whatever Scream did to, whether it was the box office and inspired new directors to get involved in the genre, I think did more for the genre than actual like everyone that followed up after, after all the Jason movies or after all, the Friday the 13th movies. I think they all try. Maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, they were more creative in creating their own storylines. Whereas everything else felt like a copy off of Jason in the 80s. It was like, oh yeah, like let's just get a character and make them like cut a bunch of people up, and there wasn't as much story behind it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, and I would say that for me personally, it ranks number 2. Halloween goes 1. For me, Friday the 13th is 2. I did get more into the Freddy movies recently, but the Freddy ones, like as they get bad, they get like really bad. And I think a lot of and we're going to talk about how bad some of these movies get. Yeah. But they just get weird and not as fun. So I put Friday the 13th because those are my 3 favorites. That go. I do love the Screams. I just don't rewatch them like I rewatch these. You know what I mean? So, but I got it at number 2 for my horror. But we will talk about how some of these movies get a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to put this in there. So my parents, we rented houses growing up and stuff, and my dad bought a house right off of Crystal Lake in New Hampshire. It's up in Enfield, and there's an old boys camp on it. If you look it up, it's called Camp Mascoma. It's a deserted scout camp, and my brother used to tell me it was real. That's where they filmed all this stuff. So I was like, that's probably why it also holds like a deeper value in there. It's just so creepy. I don't know.
Now, I kind of want to ask this question, and I don't know if I gave this to you guys earlier because I added it. Do you guys have your favorite look of Jason in these? I know we're going to talk about each individual movie, but Anthony, do you have a favorite look? I mean, obviously, the hockey mask becomes the iconic piece of it, but he does not look the same in every movie.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually probably one of my complaints as we go through this list is that the continuity in Friday the 13th is, I mean, if you thought the masks changing were bad in Halloween, the overall body shape of Jason, and not even just body shape, but the actual way he looks. So, but I will say my favorite was 7. I think because I grew up more on the zombie Jason, that is him at another level. He has the exposed rib cage. You can see the spine in the back. I mean, he was like, that to me was scary. That was very like, how do you kill something like that? Like,
I think this is 7 right here.
Yeah, that's 7.
Yeah.
So he has the chain around his neck from, the previous movie where, Tom Jarvis, drowns him. So yeah, it's just like that to me is like, that's Jason. When you say Jason to me, that's the first one that comes to mind is that really undead, Jason Voorhees.
Herbie, do you have a favorite look?
I think mine is a cross between what my wife calls gooey Jason, like the 7s and 8s and 9s, definitely 9.
He is the gooey Jason.
He's the gooey. It's goopy.
Yeah.
And I think it's a cross between that and like 4, kind of where like the zombie mythos was coming in, but you could maybe say he was still human. And like 6, so I would say 6 is like a little of both because he's not fully rotten like 7, and it's still kind of like a believable form, I guess, for me, like the whole like Frankenstein resurrection and all that stuff. And he's got like throwing knives and all sorts of tools, and it just seemed like more practical. It was fun. It was just a killing machine setup.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say this. I think my favorite. I do love the hockey mask, but I got to go with 2, just because this seems so more real to the character. Do you know what I mean? That he's just got a bag over his head. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I love that Jason in there. And then obviously he finds the mask. We'll talk about that.
Hillbilly Jason.
Hillbilly
too, right?
Jason.
That's what
Yeah.
they call him.
Yeah.
He's got like overalls on with like one overall off. It's just his Oshkosh Bagosh on the front.
Where, you know, and we'll talk about this. Actually, I don't want to get into it because I'm going to say, where is he getting these clothes? We don't know. I mean, he was a child that has been living in the woods all the time.
Yeah.
But last question, because this is like the heated debate, and I'm in a horror group, and sometimes when people,
group?
This is a Facebook group. We got hot takes beyond belief in this group. Who you got?
Add me to this group. I got to be part of it.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I will say the Hellraiser fans, and I like Hellraiser. They might be the most insecure base of fans I've ever seen, because every day it's a post. Do you guys like Hellraiser? Do you like Hellraiser?
Yeah, Pinhead don't get enough credit. I would agree.
Die Hard.
You know.
Yeah.
I finally just started putting a gif of Groundhog Day because I'm like, this is every day, guys. Like, what's going on here? Like, yes, you're pretty too, but
first one's so good.
Myers, Voorhees, showdown. Who wins?
Depends on which Michael Myers and which Jason Voorhees, I guess I would say.
You got to pick one.
I have to go with Jason. I just got to go with him. The super strength. I think of like part 6, and I don't know, because I think with Michael Myers, it's unclear whether or not he has supernatural powers, which is cool. I mean, it makes him like the figure that he is. But I always thought just Jason is so physically imposing, so my bias would be towards him.
Anthony, who you got?
I think, and obviously, if I go against Michael Myers, it's going to pain me to say it since he's tattooed on me. But I think it also depends on which Jason you're talking about, right? I think Michael Myers annihilates anybody before Jason Lives, part 6, right? Like that's regular man Jason. And as we talk about the movies, I mean, he's kind of clumsy at the beginning. He's very leery, like he's like one of us, like someone's swinging something at him and he's trying to deflect it and move around, whereas Michael Myers just grab you by the throat if you try to swing at him. However, undead or zombie Jason or resurrected Jason, whatever we want to call him, I don't think anybody can beat him, as we'll talk about in Freddy vs. Jason. Like, I don't think anybody beats undead Jason.
I think I'm going to agree with that. Actually, when we talk about Jason and Michael being both human, I got Michael.
Yeah.
When you start talking about supernatural Jason, you're right. How does anybody beat him? But Myers also has the cult of Thorn.
No, he doesn't. Stop it.
Let's get
that movie out.
You know, we're gonna ignore that ever happened.
No,
but anyways, that is the big debate on the horror pages. They always give it to Jason, but I think that's a good point. Which Jason we're talking about? Supernatural Jason or Jason that was living in the woods, eating God knows what? I don't know how he survived.
Wearing his overalls.
Yeah. Hermit Jason has no,
He had some sort of toilet thing.
he can't do anything against the boogeyman. No way.
All right, so let's get into the actual rankings. And ladies and gentlemen, the way we're going to do this is we're going to go through the movies. We're going to do it a little differently than the Halloween episode.
Make sure I pull them up.
We're going to look at it. We're going to go through each movie. We have a bracket board, and I know it's probably tougher to see for the audience at home. We'll bring it a little bit closer at the end. We're going to try to figure out. Herbie's going to do the math here because we're going to do an average on this as well. Dave Fournier was supposed to be here, but apparently he ditched me for Soapy Pre-Op. As everybody knows, my rival, I guess he's on the Morse Code podcast tonight. Dave, it hurts my feelings, but I'm going to let it go, man. It's all good, but I have his rankings as well. But let's get into – we're going to start from the newest movies, and we're gonna work our way to the earlier ones.
We have 12 total, correct?
I got
Yes,
12. Yeah.
12 total. The first one we're gonna start with is the remake from 2009. This movie has ranked high for some people, other people not so much. I guess I want to get you guys' opinions on it, and then I want to get how you rank it. We'll start with you, Herbie.
I'm already rethinking my list after our conversation, but I currently, as this snapshot exists, I put the remake at the 9th place.
9th.
I put it pretty low, but not too low.
Okay, and why is that?
It felt more like I think the thing that you could kind of do with modern horror movies is you can just kind of do like the boilerplate, follow the same example that the previous set, and then just kind of push out. I think it would have been nice to have maybe like a more creative director do it, because it was just kind of bland feeling, and the Jason design was okay, and kind of the melding of the first two movies, and they're not really at the camp, but they kind of are. It was just kind of bland. I didn't find it super entertaining.
Anthony, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, like you mentioned with the director, I believe it's the same director that did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes.
I think
yes.
And it definitely
has
has
the same feel.
Yeah, it has the same feel for sure. I think one of the things I was critical about it was him holding the sister hostage, or whatever he was trying to do with her, whether it was like it reminded him of his mom or whatever that was. It felt a little weird, but I went in open-minded, and I said this on our Halloween episode where I was really upset at the remake for that, because I felt like they went a completely different direction than who Michael Myers was. Whereas we don't really know anything about Jason overall. Like when we watch the franchise, like it's truly a slasher movie and not a whole lot of like personality, what makes him tick, like those kind of things that you had with Michael Myers. So I appreciated the different story. I like the woodsman aspect. I mean, if he's living out in the woods, he's very handy with stuff. I like that about it. I like how fast he moved. I will say the opening scene, which I mean, I think it's like 20 minutes, is phenomenal to me. I think it's like the most exciting jump start to any of the movies in the franchise, and really almost any horror movie. The intensity in the movie, like there's a lot of chasing, where the other movies you don't have that. The other movies is like, here he is, you're dead. Cool kill. Like that's kind of have always been the model of the movie. Whereas with the remake, we get a lot of intensity with, him under the floor and stabbing up through the floor. Some really cool kills. You get, the girl swimming, she's under the dock and he stabs through the dock and gets her in the head and then pulls her up and pulls the knife basically right through the dock, and she falls back into the water. But just a lot of cool kills. They paid homage to the sleeping bag kill, which is notorious.
That was awesome.
I mean, and then putting the spin on it, like hanging the sleeping bag and lighting it on fire. I mean, so again, it does feel very Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque, but I enjoyed it. I put it at 4. And I think 4. I honestly would have put it higher if there wasn't, I guess, like the middle kind of dragged a little bit for me. And I forget the kid's name, the blonde kid that has
like the rich kid.
Yeah. Oh man, he's just he's such a D-bag.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone's different when they watch these kind of movies, but I was really rooting for Jason for most of these people. I like the cast overall, but like that was like he should have died earlier in the movie. I had a tough time in the middle of the movie. I actually rewatched it today because I hadn't seen it in so long. And he really he was getting under my skin a lot, that it was making it almost unbearable in the middle of the movie to watch it. But so aside from him and, maybe a couple little things, to make it less Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque, and I probably would have put it higher. But overall, I enjoyed it.
I do like this movie. I think I liked it a lot more the first time I saw it. The more that I watched, the more I was like, I can't rank it as high as some of the others. I did it. I couldn't stand that kid. That's one. But I also like, we're on a weed farm. There's so many weird different things to it, and that Jason's not keeping a hostage. But again, I like the new Halloweens that Rob Zombie did.
You ranked that number one, and we argued about that.
That was like my favorite of the Halloweens. So I have this at number 8 on my list, and Dave has it at number 9. So Dave at 9.
That's
I'm
a good
at
point,
8.
though, with the first part of the movie, the first 15, 20 minutes. I remember being really excited by that. And I was like, man, that was pretty scary. Like,
so what I really liked about it overall, and I think what jumps it up the list for me is the fact that we're literally getting Friday the 13th 1 through 4 all in one movie. I mean, we get the opening monologue and we get, Pamela Voorhees at the beginning. We get to see that. The actress that played her, I wasn't a huge fan for that little role, but either way, like we get that. We get Sackhead Jason, which is Dan's favorite. And then, maybe they could have did better work with how he finds the mask, because it's like really random after a kill where he finds it. I kind of prefer the way he got the mask in 3D, which again, we'll talk about that, but maybe if they would have did something like that. But I just kind of like how if you've never seen the franchise before, they literally summed up 1 through 4 with one movie. And then we get we don't know, when he takes his mask off, I mean, he's grotesque. So you get kind of that part 2 with the hair before they made him bald and stuff in the original. And then you get like the mongoloid look. Like you get like I thought it was a good unmasked Jason too. Plus he has the size, right? So he's extremely big in it. So yeah, I thought it was just a good combination of all those. And then, at the end we get the popping out of the dock and dragging her under, and that was it, right? And we never got, the sequel to it. But, they didn't kill him off where it did feel like they were going to kill him off and it was going to be a one-off movie, which it ended up turning into a one-off movie, but they didn't end it that way. So I do like the shocking ending.
I'm wondering, did that not make the box office to do another one? Because everything was pointing towards we're rebooting this thing.
I was looking at production budgets and stuff for these.
I think they did really good.
I thought it did fairly well.
Yeah, I think it did really good. I think it was more probably along the lines of ownership and like the rebooting aspect of just like they're rebooting a lot of stuff that they just redid, right? Like, I mean, it's happening more and more often. Like we're seeing something that got rebooted in 2010 and they're getting another reboot 10 years later.
Yeah. It made, let's see, it was a $17 million budget and made 92 million worldwide.
Yeah, so that's a big success. There should have been another one, but obviously something came up there.
We are getting some comments as well. Looks like Justin Del Rio just yelled "Yo," and it looks like Christian Casanova is a Michael Myers fan.
That's my guy.
So
my guy, he knows. My brother knows.
Signed with WWE. Christian Casanova, big shout out to him.
Carmelo Hayes. One time
I don't know.
for the culture.
I should be getting the comments on here. I'm not sure why I'm not, but anyways, we're gonna move on to the movie that people waited a decade for.
Decade? This probably like 30 years almost.
And I also want to say the average score for the remake is a 7.5.
I brought it down. Let's go.
So, but here's the movie everybody wanted to see. They finally got it in 2003. We got Freddy versus Jason. Let's start, Anthony. What did you think of Freddy versus Jason?
Man. So I don't really consider it a horror movie. It's definitely action-packed, nostalgia. I hate the characters, honestly. Besides, having Kelly Rowland in there, I thought that was kind of cool.
Kelly Rowland's only role.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool.
She is gorgeous.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. She is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Stare down Freddy there.
I like the I like the comedy relief in that scene alone, and it just talks about like he has these little knives, and Jason got this big thing, right? And we know what she's referring to as she's saying it. Like, it's a funny joke there. So I enjoyed that. I like the storyline, how they did it, like given the backstory and how the girl's mom died or whatever, and it was actually Freddy that did it, and all that kind of stuff. And then the aspect of people forgot about Freddy, and he's going to use Jason to get over again. A lot of great kills in it. Big tough Jason. So yeah, I'm a fan. It's nostalgic. It's not scary at all. But to me, I rated it high because I think it's a movie that every time it's on, I can stop and watch it. It's very easy watching, and I put it at number 3. It's number 3 for me.
Number 3. Oh wow.
I also like, as you're writing that down, I like Freddy exposing Jason. I like that element of the story. It was different. Getting into Jason's head, playing in his dreams, the water thing. I thought it was just a creative way to look at it. And then bringing them out and fighting in the real world. I thought the fights, yeah, I mean that's a great fight scene. That's what we built for. And I think they could have did anything, and I probably would have been a fan. Could have been better, absolutely, 100%. But it was nostalgic, and we waited for it, and I think I would have loved it no matter what they did.
I agree, and it and the reason it took so long was I think the studios had a lot of issues trying to figure out
who was getting the money,
who was going to do what. Herbie, what do you think of this film?
Yeah, so because there's two ways I can see it. I can see it as a Friday the 13th movie, in which I have a different opinion, versus like what Ann said, like a fun kind of movie where, yeah, you could put it on. It's like, oh yeah, it's kind of like goofy and self-aware and action-packed and stuff. But if I were to think of it as a Friday the 13th movie, it ranks low in that regard because it's more Freddy focused. The issue of Jason being afraid of water, even though every movie he's ever in, he's like,
but he drowns in all the, but he gets drowned in that water too, more than once. That's more than just when he was a child. Well, I guess he gets locked down too.
Right.
It comes out
it felt like because I believe Ronnie Wu, who directed it, was the writer too. I could be wrong. I was trying to pull that up. But it felt like it was written by people who didn't have the fidelity with the material and stuff. So for me, in terms of rank, I put it as 10 in terms of a Friday the 13th movie.
Oof.
I do have a good recommendation though. There was a series of graphic comics. I don't think they're novel length, but it's called Freddy versus Jason versus Ash. They're super good. If you can find them, they're really good. Like they treat Freddy and Jason as like deadites, and then Ash has to go fight them, and it's awesome. And each one's kind of a different art style. Super good story. I was hoping they would, go in that direction, but I can't even imagine how much of a nightmare that would be with a third character. So, yeah. Number 10 as Friday the 13th movie, but higher as a movie overall that I like. But
yeah, I can agree with that, Herbie. Honestly, if I was looking at this as a Friday the 13th movie, there's probably a few more that I would put ahead of it. I did this ranking simply off of entertainment value, rewatch value for me. Am I going to stop and watch it when it's on? As well as overall movie quality. So maybe not staying true to the character, but big budget, a good size budget behind it, good effects. I kind of took that into account as well, especially as, we'll get into it. But, Jason X was not too long before this. And,
it was 1 year.
I don't think the CGI and stuff held up in that compared to what they did in Freddy vs. Jason. So I think, that again, for me, separating it and just making it a standalone, nostalgic, action-packed fight is really where it shines for me.
Yeah, for me, I just enjoyed it. I can't really just say I just had a lot of fun watching it. It finally gave us. It didn't have to be the best story because people just wanted, again, this is what they wanted. They didn't care about. They wanted this. and you got this. For me, this ranks at number 5.
Yeah.
Whoa, big one.
And Dave did not. I guess Dave, as he's hanging out with Soapy Pre-Op right now, he didn't put it on his. He didn't put it on.
Wow.
He may not agree.
What? That's a big.
He did not agree. So, from what we have here, we got. Let's see here. This is going to be an interesting score here.
So, and I think
Gets a 6
I
for
like
the
it.
average score.
6.
I like where it's at.
It's
I
like
like
right
it.
in the middle.
Dave, he's blank here.
I do. Like I said, I
You have
think
to text him.
a big part of that ranking is the rewatch value. I think it has tremendous rewatch value where you could pop in at any time and you're entertained. But what I will say is that I saw a lot of bad feedback on that movie in regards to, one, the characters. A lot of people did not like the characters, but then two, the retelling of the stories on both sides, where we didn't really need it. If you were a fan of the franchise, I get what they were trying to do is, bring in a new audience maybe that have never seen either. But there's such iconic franchises that we probably could have pulled some of that backstory stuff away that kind of dragged on.
Yeah. Would have been nice. I remember reading about, I don't know if this was just like hearsay, but one of the original scripts had, I'm blanking on her name, but the original survivor from the first Freddy, and then they had Tommy Jarvis, and like somehow they like cross paths, and they realize that like they're both fighting like these like demons or something, so like they have to join forces, and it seemed really interesting, like pulling original people, because the characters are some of the worst, I think, in the whole franchise of Friday the 13th, at least.
Yeah, for sure. I will say, I think there's a kill in it that is probably in my top 3 kills, which is
the bed.
The bed. Yeah, the bed is just, it's so good.
That is pretty crazy.
That is good. Yeah.
such
I'm surprised
a
it
good-
didn't happen earlier. It seemed like something that was just dying to be done.
Well, and I think that goes along with budgeting and better technology, right? It would have come out in 2003.
03.
Yeah, so I mean, I was right in high school during that time, so that was cool to me as well.
Yeah.
But I think like that, if they did that earlier, maybe it doesn't look as good, right? With the technology that they had previously and the low budgets, those $1 million budgets don't stretch too far. So what having nearly $20 million to fold them up like that looked really, really good. It's definitely in my top 3 kills.
In part 6, the sheriff gets folded, but there's a cutaway.
Yes.
And then when they cut back, I think he's just like in the ground, like they dig a hole and then you just lay back, and then they just put like fake.
I'll say
legs.
that's my number 2. That's
one.
my number 2 favorite kill is the sheriff one. So it was like paying homage to that, right? Like, doing it in a more brutal way. But I know they're fighting and he hits him with the rock and he just pushes him back. And I think the sound effects more than anything is the toughest part, is hearing the crunch.
Ugh.
Well, that's going to get us to everybody's favorite, I think. Because Mike Campbell, former guest of the show, just commented, Jason X for president. I hope
Uber
not.
Jason.
We got Jason X. I got a lot of flack from Anthony way back back in December, maybe when I watched it, or January, because you're going to see where I rank it. But the fact that I even said that I enjoyed it a little bit, he was shocked by. Anthony, I'll let you start on this. Jason X, where's it rank for you?
I can't do it. It's number 11. I feel like it doesn't even need to be said for me. It's Jason in space. I mean, if that is not the biggest money grab, like, let's just put out something and let the studio make some money, then I don't know what it is. Like, we've done everything with him and we still want to get some more money out of this character. So, like, let's send him to space, right? So we completely ignore Jason Goes to Hell, which I'm sure we're going to get to next, right? But so we completely ignore what happens in that. We just have this random, he's got captured somehow, right? We don't know, because there's no continuity from the end of.
Very similar to Jason Goes to Hell, though. Like when they got him, like we don't know why this happened.
But there's no continuity from. So if we ignore Jason Goes to Hell and your last one is Manhattan, there's no continuity between Manhattan and him getting captured and then frozen and that whole thing, and that bothers me in itself. I will say good quality Jason. I do like the Jason in it. I like the build of him, but man, it's fun. Don't get me wrong. It's a fun movie. I watched it over the weekend. It was fun to watch, but Jason in space, man, I can't. And the CGI is just so bad when the ship crashes and stuff. Like it's really bad stuff, but one of the best kills ever. Actually, could probably crack my top 3, which is freezing the girl's face and smashing it. Definitely one of the best kills, but I can't. I don't care how much you tell me about it. No one can sell me on Jason in space is something that is even remotely good to me.
Herbie, how do you feel in this film?
Before I jump into it, I forgot to give the production budget for Freddy vs. Jason, $25 million, and then worldwide it made $114 million. So huge commercial success, and I think that's plays to the action part of it.
I got Dave has it at 11 too, so I just want to make that clear.
Jason X had almost the same production budget as Friday the 13th, 2009. It was $3 million less. So yeah,
they could have paid some people that could act. That would have helped.
Yes, yeah.
You know what it is like? Well, I mean, they obviously a different time period, but they tried to do more with Jason X, right? There was more CGI stuff they tried to do that you didn't have to do that in 2009. So the money stretched better in 2009.
Right. For me, yeah. I mean, proportionally, it was more money probably with inflation.
Inflation, right?
Yeah. And for me, Jason X, I put it 12. It's
12.
It's one of the only ones I ever saw in theaters because I was old enough to go. And yeah, they jumped the shark. Jason in space is not great. CGI was horrific, even for the time. It was not good. It just feels cheap.
Very softcore porn type feel to it.
Yeah.
If you ever stayed up and watched Showtime at 12 p.m. or Cinemax or whatever, that's what this movie felt like.
None of
the acting
characters, none of the characters are like people you can at least pick out from other things. Like I feel like other movies in the franchise.
I mean, I'll be honest. I had a weird crush on the robot. This is very highly debated. I don't know what it was.
And stuff.
Yeah, I definitely was into her. I don't know why, but I'm going to agree with you guys on how low you go. I'm not going it's the worst because I enjoy it more than the one that I have at the worst. So I'm going number 11. This average is going to be ridiculous here. Let's see here.
I think that's a very solid anchor piece.
It's just disappointing. And we talked about it at the beginning of this, like the continuity in the movies, right? Like the different characters, like just how Jason has changed so much. And even the story has evolved, but like they just again, it's a money grab. There's no other, you could put me in front of any studio that was involved in the talks in this, and nobody can sell me that they thought this was actually going to be something that was well received. And it was just strictly like, hey, we can't do anything else with them. Let's make a crazy super Jason and, capture as much money as we can. Can you see those box office numbers, Herbie? How did it do?
Yeah, so
can't imagine.
It's not a surprise. It cost $14 million to produce, which blows my mind.
Yeah, it's like, where did you pay that? Like, how much did Kane Hodder make? Because he was the highest paid.
I have no idea.
So then, where did you spend?
They didn't spend it on the sets because the sets were essentially just a studio or a stage, and they wouldn't light the back. They would just have like tubes. It looked like an episode of Star Trek.
You know what the biggest thing though is, like, I'm not a fan of this franchise at this point. 2001, I'm a sophomore in high school, not really into this stuff, obviously. But you had Jason Goes to Hell in 1993, and you see we're gonna get into what happens there, and you're waiting for the movie that doesn't come out until 2003. That's a decade, and you get this piece of shit. Yep. Like, if you're a fan of this, you gotta be going, I've waited all this time. This is what I'm getting. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we were waiting for Freddy vs. Jason based on the way that the last one ended. And then they give us Jason Goes to Space. And it's why.
It did make 16.9 million, so 17 million. So it made $3 million, but
So
I
they
don't think
recouped,
studios
yeah.
like to only make.
But that's
a
because
little
you
bit of
probably
money.
had your diehard fans are like, I gotta go see this, and then you probably had people like that hadn't seen any of the movies and been like, oh, let's see what this is. But the fact that it only made $3 million in for a studio, that's not good at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Like.
But I think people are entertained by it. Like the people that wanted to go see it, like they wanted to see. We saw it in the previews. We saw Super Jason or Uber Jason, right? Like they saw it, and that's probably what they were looking for. Well, what is this going to be all about? But from day one, being a kid who was a fan of the franchise around that time period, being 14 years old, really into that kind of stuff, and the idea of Jason Goes to Space just did not move the needle at all.
We did have a comment from Mike Campbell saying he became Super Shredder, and you know what? He kind of does look like Super Shredder.
He's not even as good as Super Shredder either. Kevin Nash was.
Kevin Nash would have.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that Hodder versus Nash. That's a match that could happen.
I would have took the Ninja Turtles versus Uber Jason, and that would have been a way better movie.
Yeah, and again, I like because when I did watch it, I didn't hate it as much as I thought, but it's a piece of shit. At the end of the day, it's a piece of shit. Like It was fun to watch it. Again, I had the hots for the robot. I don't know why. There's something wrong with me. But let's go into the next one, which came out in 1993. And I just got to I hadn't seen this in a long time. I just rewatched the other day. We got Jason Goes to Hell.
That's a great movie poster.
Man, who wants to start on this one? Anthony, I'll let you go for. Oh, you want to go, Herbie? Go ahead.
I'll go for it. I'll do I'll be numbers man. $3 million production budget, which again, it feels like it.
I couldn't tell.
Opening weekend though, it made $7.5 million. It could be because it was since '89 was the last movie.
And this is probably the worst looking Jason I've ever freaking seen. Just want to point that out there.
It made $15 million, so somewhat of a success. But yeah, I rank it as 11. It feels cheap. The whole Jason is a demon slug that transfers from person to person, and like the makeup.
He looks awful. He looks terrible.
He looks weird. He looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man sprayed tan, and then well, even the makeup on the like Spirit Jason people, like they just have like baggy eye. You know what I mean? Like it was just weird. I didn't really like that. Like Jason's basically not in it, and yeah, it just feels like a flimsy made-for-TV movie to me.
That's one way to put it. Yeah. Anthony, what were your thoughts? I was texting you while you were watching this, so I kind of have an idea where.
Yeah, you know exactly. Like, oh man,
Loved it.
One of the things I texted you immediately was they cut the guy's neck, and the freaking creature crawls out of his neck and runs around the house. And
that pissed me off.
That
absolutely pissed me off.
It was like, this is very similar to what we talked about with Halloween, and how they tried to give us the Thorn cult and give us a reason why Michael Myers does things. And we hated that. But that's a masterpiece. I mean, that is Gone with the Wind compared to this hot garbage that is Jason Goes to Hell. I mean, we don't need reasoning for it. He doesn't need to be a body snatcher, like weird, like whoever came up with the demon aspect. Like it doesn't. Nope. Jason isn't in the movie. Like there's nothing scary about one eating the heart and all that. Like that in itself is just a terrible way to even get that to happen. Like if that's the storyline you're gonna have, that Jason transfers to bodies, like having a guy eat a heart and then try to tongue kiss people so that you can pass the demon through, like it doesn't go at all. And then we lose Jason, who is, we talked about it, one of the most iconic or the most iconic slasher. So cool, let's take him out of the equation, which is what makes the movie. We talked about when we do see him, his mask is like embedded in his face. He's fat, like that's terrible. I mean,
that's pretty bad.
The worst Jason. I will say, and I said this on the remake where I was very excited for the opening scene. I remember seeing this as a kid. This might have been one of the first couple Jasons I saw because I was a kid and I was able to sneak and watch it because it was fresh. And I enjoyed the opening scene. I thought that was creative. I didn't know where they would go with it.
Yes, I agree.
Turning it into Eating the Heart is terrible. But that opening scene of a bounty hunter trapping him and stuff, like, I thought that was kind of cool. Like, that was a cool spin on it. That was something new. I always used to say this to my friends. We grew up in a not so good area, but I always say, like, what if these serial killers went to the hood? You know, like what if Jason was walking down the street and like bumped into some Crips or some Bloods? Like, how's he going to slaughter all of them? They're going to shoot him up? Like, what's going to happen there? So I thought that was a good play on it. Was like, hey, you ran into crazy firepower. Like, he can't stop that. It's just where they went from that, it completely destroyed it. The only redeeming quality of the whole movie is Freddy's hand at the end taking the mask and the cliffhanger that it left. That's it.
This is pretty much it.
The only redeeming quality. It made everything that piece of shit was into something that we can look forward to. And then they didn't even deliver on that for a decade. So yes, dead last. I can't even go on about it anymore.
Going number 12?
Yeah, dead last.
And I think
it's a problem this series and then Halloween share is that they have moments where they say
Dave has it at 8.
We're more like an anthology, maybe. Well, let's try like a different story, and it just doesn't work. Like,
no, you don't need to. You don't need. Yeah. You have established character that's beloved. People love Jason. You actually you made a storyline that took the star character out of it. Like, yeah. At least if the people that would jump in bodies decide to pick up a mask and put the mask on, at least it'd be something. But like, that's a random horror movie at this point. It's a random guys, random people killing people. Like, there's no likability to those people. And then I didn't even mention it. Like, the actual storyline. All of a sudden, there's a bloodline now. All of a sudden, Jason has a sister.
And how does this guy Duke know this?
We've never heard of this.
Been studying him for years.
We've never heard this in 13 years. Now all of a sudden there's a bounty hunter that knows all the intimate details of Jason Voorhees' life. Come on. No.
He's never showed up ever.
No.
The whole thing.
Can't do it. No, you can't do it. Like, they try to take it in a different direction and nope, it didn't go.
I think they just go too far with it in the later stuff. Like, I'm all for some new like creative elements and things like that, getting into it, but when you just like go to space or like, oh, we're gonna do this demon swapping thing, and there's this whole like witchcraft mythos, it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, stop over explaining it. No one cares.
And even that, like, look how the movie even opened up. Like, what happened to the end of Jason Takes Manhattan? Yeah, like, we just open up the movie and he's chasing a woman through the forest. Like, how? Like again, zero continuity. Like, let's just throw something together and like, let's go outlandish and make up this story. And I can't.
So hold on. So, all right. Because I messed up the board a little bit. I didn't have Freddy vs. Jason on here. That's an 11.5. So we said, Herbie, what was your score?
For Jason Goes to Hell?
Yeah.
11.
11. Anthony, yours was?
12.
12. I also had... I had 10. Wow.
I even had that atrocity that was Jason X above it. And solely because
it's Jason.
It had Jason in it.
Yeah.
And he looked good. He was actually a good quality Jason, and they had a couple really badass kills in it. Like, and that movie is I mean, we're talking about like not two of the worst movies in the franchise, but like two of the worst horror movies like ever put together. Like, why do that to such an iconic character? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yep.
So this, let me see. Well, I messed up the board and I rewrote the board a couple times today, and I left out Freddy vs. Jason. How I did that, I do not know. Plus 8.
Make a little note on the side about it.
Yeah, a little.
Yeah, I put it's 11.5 for that.
0.5
divided by 4. So Jason Goes to Hell is going to get a 10 point.
Yeah, because someone had to put it at an 8.
I can't believe that Dave had
how
high.
Are there
that
3 movies?
An 8?
No, 4 movies.
Yeah, he
how
gave
it 4 movies worse than that.
See, there's one that's going to come up soon that I absolutely hate, which is why this one was a little higher. but apparently Dave liked it a little bit more. I don't know.
It could be a nostalgia thing.
I wish he was here.
He's not here to defend it.
He has some
hanging out with
explaining
Sophie
to do.
Priya.
We don't have to defend that piece of garbage.
Nope.
So we can.
All right. The next one we're going to go to is. Nope. Sorry. These got a little out of order for some reason. We got Jason Takes Manhattan, a.k.a. Jason on a Boat.
I'm on a boat.
Herbie, you want to start us here? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Budget stuff for this film, $5 million.
Hold on one second. Herbie, keep going. I'll be right back. Just keep going.
$5 million was the production budget. Opening weekend, it made its money back, but only made 14,000 total. So not a huge smash, obviously. But I think the budget constraints really limited it, so they ended up having to shoot the whole thing on the boat, just like Dan was saying, because they were supposed to have a shot of him going across the Brooklyn Bridge and like going to the tower and stuff. So kind of like what you were saying, Ant, like what if Jason came out of the woods and like interacted and stuff. So the stuff I liked is when they actually land the boat, like punching the head off the boxer guy is hilarious. The scene where he pulls up his mask and like all the
four guys that want to fight him after he kicks their radio.
Like that was cool. Like, oh man, that's some pretty cool fan service. It's just that's what the movie was not the whole time. It was just on a boat, and like how a lake connects to the Atlantic Ocean never really gets explained. And what else did I have on here? I did like Jason's design was scary, and there are some like cool kills with like the guitar and stuff. It's kind of fun. But yeah, I think just budget constraints really limited it in the sets, and just having a boat ride, and I don't know, it's so weird. And yeah, characters are really forgettable for me. Like no one stands out.
Where did you have it, Herbie?
I had it on 8. Sometimes I think about it. It could be lower or higher depending on my mood. But I rewatched it like a couple months ago, and I was kind of found more things I liked about it, like the head punch I forgot about.
Here we go. One of the more iconic fights here. I couldn't find an actual one of the head coming off, but this guy's winning the fight with Jason. But obviously it's zombie Jason. So
yeah, that's Mike Campbell's favorite kill. I remember him saying, and something.
It's pretty much the most memorable thing of the movie. I mean, this movie is Jason on a boat, and he sees Manhattan for about 5 minutes. You know, like. Anthony, what did you think of this film?
Yeah, so like obviously that kill is iconic. It's completely unrealistic. Like, couldn't they have the spine come out with it? Like, it looked like his head got cut off. Like, come on. They could have just did something to make it look a little bit more like, okay, if you punch someone's head off, like at least a piece of the spine would come out. It didn't look like he got his head cut off. But, memes came out about that not too long ago where everyone was saying like the most iconic, scene in a movie where like the guy squares up with Jason and fights him. Rewatching it, I was actually disappointed that he got punched out. Like he punched himself out like that, like, he used the rope-a-dope on him and he tired himself out by punching him. Like, I don't know, he was supposed to be a good boxer. Like the girls are spying on him. He's a good boxer. Like, I think his stamina was a little too low. He should have been able to bang with Jason a little more. But you can see it's the rope-a-dope. Jason's letting him hit him. He doesn't even try to swing back. He waits. But cool scene. I think the beginning when he comes back, if you guys remember, he gets left underwater in the previous movie, and it opens up on a houseboat, and the anchor hits something, and he gets electrocuted and brought to life, which I thought we already saw that. That already happened. Different ways, the lightning is that, but like, couldn't we have brought him back a different way? Something a little bit more creative. You guys have said it. Too much time on the boat, the budget restrictions, $5 million budget. They shot the movie in Vancouver mostly, besides the one like day that they did in Manhattan where we get those couple shots in Times Square. The look of New York was kind of everything's a back alley. Why are you running through a back alley? stop it, like run through time. Like everyone that's been at Times Square knows how busy Times Square is. So why are we, that's a great scene, lifting up the mask. I mean, so much potential where it's like, if you didn't have the money to do it, maybe you come up with a different idea. However, I will say I hate this version of Jason. When the mask comes off, I hate the face.
That.
I think the face
it looks like a turtle.
Really, really bad. We talked about it earlier. Like, this is slimy Jason. Like, he's glistening and wet for the whole movie, which is, I don't know. I didn't, some of that stuff didn't hit well for me. But I will say one of the only kills that actually made me jump when I was younger was when he comes through the window and grabs the person through the window, through the little circle window. That was kind of like one of those jumpy scares.
That was on the box. For the
I
VHS,
I did enjoy when he walked into the bar though. And they all, like there was some. Listen, this movie could have been so freaking ridiculous, right?
It could have been honestly, it could have been the best in the franchise if they spent the whole time in Manhattan and really the things they could have done. It could have been the best, or at least in that top 3 mark, and they just couldn't. So I put it at 9 personally, and again, mostly because just being on the boat wasn't scary. Like, this is the same argument we just had about Jason X and being stuck on a ship. Like, it's not scary.
It's hard to relate to that.
So I didn't, when I first watched this movie, and I also have it at number 9. I don't think it's the worst. But I had expectations that it was going to be Jason in Manhattan. So I'm watching the movie going, man, they're really on this freaking boat for a long time. When did we get into Manhattan? And then you get to Manhattan, I don't even know what the running time was.
I think it's like 23 minutes in Manhattan.
Like, that's not taking Manhattan. That's Manhattan. On a boat and in Manhattan.
It's like 70 minutes on a boat and 23 minutes in Manhattan.
Like, and one actual shot in New York City.
I think you're 100% right.
Like I said, I mean, they're filming it in Vancouver and everything is back alleys. Why are we running from a serial killer through back alleys in New York City? Just, it doesn't, again. And let's go down a sewer. Like, we can run anywhere, but we're gonna go down we're gonna find an open sewer in New York City.
But then they start doing the stuff with, I believe it was her uncle, and she'd ran into Jason before. I'm actually okay with all that if you just gave me New York.
Actually, so that's something I forgot to write down. Her uncle is right up there with one of the most hated characters ever, like the most unlikable, right up there with the rich kid from the remake. I mean, I hated him. I couldn't wait for him. He lived too long. I hate that he even made it off the boat. I want him to die so bad.
Yeah, he was the principal, right? He was like the school principal.
Yeah.
If I'm understanding.
Yeah.
And he's always kind of mean to her and always pushing her. And
he's so mean to her, and like he has custody of her after her parents died. Like, he's just like, he's a jerk. And then he has the little scene where like he gets seduced by the girl, lets her do all the seducing for a little bit, and then says, no, like, you're gonna be in trouble. Like, come on, stop it. Stop it. He was an old creep and he was a jerk, and Jason should have got him earlier.
If they just had a little more money and put a little more effort, this is a movie that I've said on a lot of horror pages. If you want to do a one-off Jason movie, right? We don't have to be with what's going on. It doesn't have to be off the 2009, but just remake a movie where actually Jason gets let loose in New York City. Sign me up. I will pay to 100%. See that. Like, that would have been awesome.
If you took this movie and you just watch the last 23 minutes, it could probably stand up as one of the best in the franchise, because we just talked about all the cool things we get. We get the boxer fight, the cool kill. We get the comedy nostalgia, like, relief there where he kicks the boom box and his face, and like all that, like everything in Manhattan is really, really good. It's just everything leading up to it, and the amount of time we had to wait for the payoff wasn't good enough.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Herbie, any last takes on Manhattan? I mean, that it was so watching that movie was so goddamn frustrating, because like, get to New York, please.
And the same argument I'll make for every movie is the continuity of the character. Like, new character, all slimy. When the mask comes off, why does he look so much different? why, and it wasn't a good. It just
And he made
And,
like
like,
a turtle
no.
screech when he
Yeah.
dies. There's
oh yeah, when he gets the acid or whatever on him.
Yeah, what in God's name was that?
And what is there like acid
someone's
doing in
first
the?
day
I
at
don't
the
know.
sound effects
It's
board.
yeah.
It's too bad because it was such a waste of good marketing. I remember seeing it was a T-shirt or a poster of like the I Heart New York, and Jason's like cutting through the heart. You know,
Yeah.
it's like, man, you really sold people on an idea that didn't actually really happen in like the
Yep.
whole movie.
Yeah, oh yeah, the
So-
marketing was amazing. Even that scene that you just showed with when he sees the billboard of a hockey mask and he looks at it like what is
Yeah.
that? Like
This is super cool right here.
super cool.
You know, they just I don't know, if you didn't have the money to do it, maybe you wait a little bit. I don't know, but
Look how
like
slimy he is there though.
he's
Yeah.
disgusting. Like, and he couldn't dry at some point. Like we're at that point where
I
like
mean, he was out of the water
It's
for a
goopy.
long time.
Goopy
He
Jason.
should have been dried up.
you know that movie, honestly, like I said, if there was anyone to remake of these, because the concept was a good idea, the execution was dog shit,
Mm.
absolute dog shit. Let's get into the next one here, and I'm actually gonna go first on this one because I hate this goddamn movie, The New Blood, the Carrie versus Jason Voorhees. I hate this movie. I hate that I had to rewatch this movie. This is my least favorite of the franchise. I'm going to put it at number 12. I hate the idea. I just don't enjoy watching it. It's just grimy. I didn't like the psychiatrist. I know I'm not supposed to, but I don't like the idea of some girl with supernatural powers. It's a ripoff of Carrie, and I just thought this movie was bad. I just thought it was really bad, and I didn't enjoy it. And having to rewatch this, I hated it just even more than I did the first time, to be honest.
Wow.
What do you guys think of this? I hate this movie. I hate it more than Manhattan. I really do.
Whoa. That's strong.
It's just where I stand on this. I don't enjoy it. I hate the supernatural element to it. Not fan.
You go
What's
for
your
it,
take,
Ant. You
Herbie?
go first.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll start off where I put it. I put it at 8. It's not the worst in the franchise, but the reason why it doesn't crack the top half, exactly like Dan said, the Carrie thing, supernatural powers. What makes Jason so scary or interesting to watch is the fact that you're regular people trying to fight him. So yeah, I don't like him fighting someone. I don't like the protagonist being someone who has superpowers, and we're just this is where the franchise started to really get off the rails a little bit with what they were doing and taking liberties and trying to really do some crazy stuff. I will say a big part of what makes it good for me was, like I said at the beginning, it's my favorite Jason out of all of them. It's super zombie Jason, exposed bones and stuff. Like I really like the Jason. It has my favorite kill of all time, which is the sleeping bag kill. Zip her up in the sleeping bag and bang her off the tree. I thought that was iconic. Absolute, like it's just great kill. But what I will say at the end of it, so those are the good things that really like stand out to make it rated a little bit better for me. But the ending is terrible.
You don't like the makeup on the dad?
Effing terrible. Yeah. The fact that she resurrects her dad. First of all, she's unlikable. I don't care about the supernatural abilities. She sucked. I did not care for her at all anyways. But resurrecting her dad with her mind, where he pops out and takes Jason back to the water, just again, they took liberties with this movie. This is where it starts to go off the rails. It's no wonder that we got the Manhattan and the Goes to Hell and Jason X after this. Like this is the birth of that. This if you hate those movies, then blame this one for creating those.
I agree, dude. It was. I hated it. I honestly don't.
The makeup was horrible.
It's so bad.
So bad. this movie for me ranks.
And again, the Jason doesn't. I mean, some people. This is the look
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, he's my
That is-
favorite there.
that is a good-
I love him like this.
uh,
Unstoppable at that point. But again, he got to go against someone with superpowers like it's an X-Men movie. So
Yeah.
numbers
What-
for
what
this
a-
movie were a $2.8 million budget, and it grossed. Where is it? 19 million. So it did pretty well.
yeah, I mean, the shot when she breaks the mask and you actually see his face, like that's the
Yeah.
first look that we get at his face after he's zombie Jason, right? Like that's his comeback.
And I
Yeah.
hated that. I hated
Really?
that scene. I really did. I was like, okay. I don't know. At this point in the movies, I'd rather just keep the mask on, keep the mysterious elements of Jason. That was another point where I was like, man, I hate this goddamn movie. Like, I just want it to end. I really did.
You know? You didn't like when she broke the light and then like the string from the light comes out and strangles him and then drops him and
Yeah, like I was just like, oh my god, end. This is painful.
For me,
Herbie, what number you got?
I put it as number 7.
Oh, okay.
It ranks a little higher for me for a couple reasons. It's Kane Hodder's first, and you
Yep.
can tell it's definitely noticeable. It was directed by a guy who was like a special effects artist, so like that's why we get the neat Jason design, and some of the kills were really really good. There's a documentary called Crystal Lake Memories. Have you guys seen this? It's long,
have.
6 hours.
6 hours. Yep.
Super long, but it's like episodes, and they talk about how the movie was at the time, like the censoring boards were really hammering down on stuff, and they really really cut it. Almost every scene, like the sleeping bag was supposed to be like 7 or 8 more strikes or something like that, so like it was supposed to be way more over the top, but got muted a lot. So I think in knowing that, I can kind of like imagine some of the more creative kills in there and have a better appreciation for it now. But yeah, I totally agree. The psychokinetic fighting is gimmicky. It's not that fun. Another piece of lore is that this was supposed to be Freddy versus Jason, but they couldn't cut a deal, so they had to find like another shoe-in person, and they went with like Carrie type esque character. So yeah, that stuff. And like the cast is pretty much forgettable.
Yeah, I did. I read that it said like New Line was supposed to take international distribution and Paramount was supposed to take domestic, and they couldn't come to an agreement. And that right there is the perfect time to do Freddy versus Jason. It would have been weird because it would have just happened out of nowhere, so we wouldn't get the setup for it. So that would have kind of threw it off. But I mean, if you talk about being in their heyday, I think Jason was a little bit on a decline going into the movie, and Freddy was taking off. I don't know which Freddy we were at that point, but
we weren't deep into the Freddys, I don't think. Because
so I think like his popularity was at the highest. He was definitely higher than Jason at that point, and that would have been great if they could have came to the agreement and did it at that point. But again, I wish they would have scrapped the whole idea of him battling someone. So instead of giving us the Carrie knockoff.
Well, when you're trying to bust out a movie every goddamn year, which is what they were doing, the ideas start to become not good. And in my opinion, this is just not a good one. I mean, it does get an 8.5 because Dave gave it a pretty high ranking at number 6. Herbie gave it fairly high at 7. I mean, I think I dragged down because I said this is number 12. This is I hate this movie. I'm just gonna say I hate this movie. I don't want to watch it again, and I probably will never watch it again, unless I do another ranking. But that's gonna take us to the man behind the mask.
The man behind the mask.
We got Jason Lives at number 6. And this is kind of the wrap up of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy. Because if you really think about the Tommy Jarvis stuff, it's a trilogy. Who wants to start on this one?
I went last time. You can let Herbie go.
Yeah. Well, I love this Jason. It's like a quintessential one. I think it's a good entry into Jason series itself, like not Friday the 13th, because that's like kind of like more complex with the first one, but like if someone were to say like what's just like a fun Friday the 13th to watch, that's the one I would point to. Jason Lives. I think it's the best Jason design. I call it the Rambo Jason, the Do Anything, Swiss Army Knife, Ultimate Power Jason. There's a lot of like fun gags where they break the fourth wall. There's a girl reading the book No Exit by Jean-Paul Sartre, which is like a super like existential book. Kills are great, chopping 3 heads in a row, throwing knife stuff. And I think this is the only one, correct me if I'm wrong, where the kids are actually at the camp.
Yes, and Jason shows he has a heart, I
Yeah.
guess, or
Oh,
he got
okay.
distracted. I don't know.
I think it was distraction. And then
Well,
yeah.
some people say that because he died when he was a kid, that he wouldn't
so
kill
he's
these.
like in that status, or
He'd kill like the older people, but not the kids. That's just a take that I've heard.
That's interesting. I like that. Story arc of Tommy Jarvis and the sheriff is pretty good. It can be a little campy, isn't super scary, but I liked it a lot. Definitely as a kid, I loved it, and still do. It's just kind of a good watch. I can watch it at any moment, really.
What number are you giving it?
I put it as 2.
Ooh,
Pretty high up there. It's solid value.
Anthony, what do you think of this one?
Huge fan. This is, although I said costume design, 7 is my favorite by look. This is the Jason that I fell in love with. This is the first resurrected zombie Jason. As a kid, I didn't know the backwoods hermit Jason. I didn't know that till I was older. So like the supernatural teleporting, slow walk, all that stuff that we like symbolize with Jason, that's synonymous with Jason, that's from this movie on. Anytime we think of Jason, we don't really think of those first 4 movies as like mannerisms and things like that. So I like the way they brought him back to life. I thought it was creative. It was cool. It made you frustrated that, Tommy Jarvis would, go crazy like that, like just burn him and be done with it. So you had that moment of frustration. I think I don't know which Tom Jarvis I like better from 5 or 6. With changing the actors, I'd have to probably go watch them back to back again, even though I just did it the other day to really decide. The one from Part 5 is definitely a little bit like crazier. He plays that role better. This one definitely, Part 6, he comes across as someone who can really fight Jason and he's ready to stand up to him. So they changed the mindset a little bit too. So that did change a little bit between 5 and 6 was he wasn't, I mean, again, we'll talk about 5 in a second. They really changed the storyline overall.
They scrapped an idea all completely. Yeah.
So it's like they kept a little bit of the character and what kind of was happening to him, but still like he would, I can't really say between the two, which one I liked more, but we talked about the kills earlier. It has one of the best kills in the franchise in my eyes is folding up. That's what we talked about, what we loved in Freddy vs. Jason, that kill. This is the first one of that, is folding the sheriff in half. So I put at number 2.
Wow. I think
Also,
we're all kind of almost on the same page here. Go ahead, Herbie.
I was gonna say one of the ones I'm just remembering now is the cool scene where he's in the RV and he presses the girl's head into the side.
Yeah, you get
and
the
it
whole
like
face.
extends out. Yeah, like it's like a mold. So it's just like a good balance of like it knows like these movies are getting goofy. And
Well, that's what they finally acknowledged it.
Yeah.
It made it fun. I also have it at number. I'm just gonna say I have it at number 2 as well. I just love this movie. I thought the sheriff fighting with Tommy Jarvis throughout the movie and then serves to bite him in the ass later. That was fun. And it was just cool. Like even I gotta say this scene here, not this.
We do get the humor too.
You got Horshack. They kill Horshack in the first scene.
Punch his heart out. So
like,
cool.
Come on. This movie was fun. It was just fun.
This is a good example. The director was a big fan of like Frankenstein and all those early movies, and so that's how he got like the whole like lightning bolt resurrection scene. It's like I wish there were more. I think later on, people who had like a greater appreciation for like the genre. I think that's what it suffers from later years.
Dave Fournier did not like it as much as us. He had it at number
Uh-oh.
7.
Seven.
So it drags it to a 3.25.
I don't think he gets the
Wow.
humor.
But honestly,
I love the humor. The when he holds up the cut off arm, like kind of shrugs it off. Like it's
the
just
guy in the
I think-
graveyard too.
if I'm not mistaken, it's like the first real horror movie I think that gives us that kind of humor. Like Freddy's humor was different. He was making fun of the kids. This was more of that like that meta humor where it's like well that little shoulder shrug, those little that comedic relief. I think I think this is like one of the first horror movies to really give us that.
Well, and then the guy they dug up the grave and he wanted to cover it up. Remember that part?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he says, "What does he say? People have a sixth sense of humor or sixth sense of entertainment."
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he
It
looks
looks-
right at the camera.
He breaks what they call in pro wrestling the third wall in a movie. It was just fun. It was like back to like if you don't like that movie, I don't know what else you want.
I think it's the quintessential Friday the 13th movie. I think it's people don't think about the hermit Jason. They think about the undead Jason, and this is the best version of that. It's not over the top yet. It still has remnants of the original, but now he's more supernatural.
Yeah. And I mean, that goes together with the character because he kind of already feels supernatural at certain points. It's going to bring us into something that's the most. This is going to be an interesting one because we're going to talk about the movie that Jason's not actually in, which is the
Spirit.
5th.
It's a pretty cool cover.
The New Beginning. We got Tommy Jarvis coming back here, but we got the New Beginning. I don't want to spoil too much before we get into it. Anthony, what did you think of this movie?
I told you guys I rewrote my list a couple times. This movie slides up and down the scale for me. It's tough because if I hold it as a standalone movie and what it could have led to, I think it would have been better. So I'm blaming the sequel. I guess I'm blaming the critical response to it that made us decide to change what the movie was going to be, right? So the movie does bad. Everyone responds bad to it. So they decide to scrap the whole storyline and go into something different for 6, right? If they follow the same storyline, I think that makes this movie better. Tom Jarvis going nuts after he killed him in part 4, right? Coming across him in part 5, but it's not him, right? This is the one that's not him. It's the paramedic. But then he goes crazy at the end and puts the mask on, and there he is. He's going to be the new Jason. And if they went forward with this and Jason Voorhees was officially dead after 4, and Tom Jarvis was going to take on the mantle as a psychotic killer, and they were going to move the franchise in this direction, I probably would like this movie more. The fact that they scrapped it makes me hate it. I don't like the point of view shots in this. I think we're too many years removed from when that was a shocking way to kill people, was those POV shots. I didn't like it in this, but again, they were trying to hide who was doing the killings because they wanted you to think it's Jason, but we don't know. And so I put it at 10. I did end up sliding it down to the bottom of my list, and that again, that's due to where the storyline went after. As I was saying before, I like the Tom Jarvis in it. He plays a really good character where you can almost feel for him, like you could feel his mental state just breaking down. But yeah, just it's the fact that it's not Jason and they didn't move forward with it just kind of kills it for me because I know what happens to it.
I mean, you got this scene right here, and this is just never spoken of again.
Just could have been awesome.
And then it just cuts to him driving in a truck to go dig up Jason.
Yeah.
Years later.
Yeah. As much as I love that movie, you're right. The follow through didn't happen, but go ahead.
5 doesn't exist, right? And
it's funny because it had less of a budget than the 6th, only by $800,000 only. But it made more money overall than part 6. So maybe it was coming off the tail end of part 4. People were like, whoa, what are they going to do? And then I think what Ant said, the reception of it not being Jason, spoiler alert, everyone. And, the whole like Tommy Jarvis, like some people are like, well, we want Jason back, but he's dead. So how are we going to bring him back? So, but yeah, mine, just like Ant, it goes up and down all the time. I think I have a new appreciation of it if I look at it purely as like, if I had fallen for the trick of believing it was Jason the whole time. Like some of the kills are pretty wild, and that like the one with like the leather strap, like
he kills Joanna Man. He kills Joanna Man.
Joanna Man, that's right. Joanna Man.
Yeah.
That's right. That's where he's from. Okay.
Miguel Nunez. Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's a good. That was a good kill too.
Yeah. Some violence.
Being stuck in a porta potty with someone stabbing through it is pretty scary.
While you're pooping, singing a poop song to your
girlfriend, and they open the door and she's dead.
But yeah, gory, creative kills. Oh yeah, there's a flare. Remember, he takes a flare and like shoves it in the guy's mouth. It's wild. Yeah, downside, not really Jason. A lot of nudity in it. I remember as a kid. That's why I liked it a lot, but just purely for that. And I think it was directed by someone who started out directing pornography, is what I read.
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, like the acting feels like that. It's not good. Same, it suffered a lot from heavy editing and, the whole end scene. Or the whole like thing with the dad dropping his kid off and sees his kid killed, and like, I don't know, it was weird.
Well, he wasn't dropping him off. There was no relationship between the father and the son.
He was just like monitoring him from afar.
Yeah,
to make sure he's okay. It just seemed weird. He's like not a sympathetic character or anything.
What would you give for a number?
What did I give New Blood? Because I think I had switched
New Blood.
I gave 7.
You gave it a 7.
Yeah. New Beginning for me is at a 6 currently, but subject to change.
What I'll say about this movie is I'm also giving it a number 6. I actually enjoy this film, but it's not very... I'm not buying that this paramedic is going to the levels of a Jason. You look at him, he doesn't look that intimidating. You're talking about a son that he had nothing to do with, and he, and obviously, what the hell's going on this insane asylum that you're letting the patients have a goddamn axe? Like, what?
They're like, well, he got murdered the other day. We're just gonna have breakfast this morning.
This guy's gonna snap at any minute. He's got an axe in his hand, So, I do enjoy the movie. It's just that, and what I noticed the first time I watched it, I didn't notice was the parent when you see the look of shock in his face, and it's going to lead to he's going to take over or whatever once you know everything about it. But my only issues with this movie is I'm not buying that guy's committing the murders that he does, which is gonna lead to another movie. But I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah, correct. It's supposed to be. Even Hermit Jason has some sort of supernatural element to him or strength or anything like that. And now you have just a regular guy. There's no real motive to the kills. At least we know with Jason, he's upset, right? Like he saw his mother get killed. They were going to let him drown. So it's like anyone who's a camp counselor, like, sorry, you're dead. Like that's my revenge. So it really just didn't follow through with what it should have. And I remember watching it as a kid and a little confused, honestly, when the mask comes off and they show who it is. I'm like, so where's Jason? Like being a kid watching it, because I was expecting that there was like a switcheroo there, and Jason was gonna pop out after that. And then I'm like, oh, it's over. So Jason really isn't like, so he's dead. Like I didn't even know he was dead. Like I still didn't get it. It took me till I was older to rewatch it to understand what I was watching.
Yeah, and the other thing is like, so he sees his son get, so he's gonna kill everybody over that. A son that he barely had any relationship with.
Yeah, why did he care so much if he dropped him off at some point, or like put him in this place? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's killing people that like don't have anything to do with the place.
It was almost like they made the movie backwards, and they were like, okay, we want Tom Jarvis to be so distraught over killing Jason as a kid that we want to give him the mantle, but we don't know how to do it. So let's work the movie backwards and try to figure out a way to get it into his hands, where it's like, at that point, why even give us the Tom Jarvis struggle? Have him take over as a killer right at the beginning of the movie, you know?
Like Jarvis has already snapped.
Yeah, like you already start with that. You know, right as he transitions from, you get that quick Corey Feldman, you know, cameo at the beginning. Now he's older, a couple years fast forward. But even that I thought was a miss. You know, like you made the movie so quick that you had to, Corey Feldman's on top of his game at this point, right? We get introduced to him in 4, and now he's on top of his game. He just did probably Lost Boys right around then, or he's about to do it. I mean, he got all these movies coming out, and you completely dropped the ball by creating a script that's going to age him so that you can't put him in the movie. And it's like, why? He was just going to be a star in Hollywood. If they used him, would a different storyline would have worked out.
Those movies would have been more iconic.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, let's be honest, Corey Feldman, his movies are iconic.
Yeah.
And, and we're talking the 80s. So they did.
All of his 80 movies are super nostalgic, and they still do very well. Like, everyone still goes back and watches them. That's why people watch part 4 of this. Like, it's 100%.
I bet his price tag though went up a lot, and they just weren't gonna be willing to pay it.
Oh no, not with a $2.2 million budget.
No, there's so much more you could, but there's a lot you could have done with that film.
Yep.
If you just could have wrote a better story. I still enjoy it. I think, because I have it at number 6. It gets a 6.5 ranking overall. Dave Fournier, he loves this freaking movie. He's got it at number 4.
Wow, 4. Wow. Jason's not even in it. How can you?
So
again, I think
maybe it's that one dream sequence he likes.
Yeah, as
they dig up Jason's grave.
As a standalone movie, it's not bad overall. It's just the execution wasn't good, and like I said, I think the sequels make it that much worse. If they would have left Jason Voorhees dead and made Tom Jarvis the storyline from now on, maybe then the movie just is. It's kind of a shitty transition into a better, set of movies.
Well, it's very similar to what Halloween did. We're going to try something different. Oh, crap, doesn't work. Bring Michael Myers back.
Yeah.
But the difference with the Friday the 13th was they wanted you to believe that it was Jason until the very end of the movie. Mm-hmm. And the mask was a little bit different. They had the blue streaks instead of the red or whatever. But could have been great. Another one could be remade to be something really good, but that's going to take us to a very popular one. If we want to talk about Corey Feldman owning the 80s, because he was, we're talking about the final chapter. Herbie, what's your take? Where are you ranking this?
Final Chapter has easily the best cast of all of them. It's got Crispin Glover at the top
Back to the
of
Future.
His game.
Yeah.
And Corey Feldman right before, around the time that he really exploded. And the setup is great. The Jason look is great. Kills are great. This is where Tom Savini comes back to the franchise and does the special effects. He did the special effects for the first one, came back for this, did the Jason design. It's the best one for me. It's number 1.
Oh,
there. Jason's acting is pretty good. Ted White is like a career stuntman. And like kind of on that precipice of like, is he a zombie? Is he supernatural? Still a human? Kind of goes both ways for me. It's just good.
Anthony, what do you think?
I agree. I got his number 1.
Oh wow!
So we get the introduction of Corey Feldman. So it is his first major movie role. He had done other small things before that, TV, made for TV movie stuff like that. But this is his first like major movie role. And same with Crispin too. And that's a great shot. I mean, that ending sequence is just it's frightening. It's great. He taps into Jason's emotions, tricks him. Yeah. The kill of Jason, if they were to end the movie here, it's an awesome kill, I'd say my only gripe about it is when that mask does come off, his face looks really weird compared to the one before. He looks less human in this one than in the one before. Like we start to really, I think we get a little off the rails with Jason because he's still technically a person in this one. He hasn't been killed yet. So I say that's my only gripe with it. But, just like Herbie said, the cast is awesome. You get Crispin right, I think probably like 6 months before he does Back to the Future or something like that. Like it's.
Oh, this is before that then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you catch two, guys that really start to do huge things right after. And then I also like the storyline of having the Jarvis family, right? Like we haven't really had a family in the movie yet, like a second storyline to build off of. It was just always random group of people, right? So we actually get like a family to kind of base everything off of. But yeah, I mean, it's the best. It's like Herbie said, this is where you start to question how supernatural is he? Is he just a man? We'll get into it in the next few, but I said earlier, like a lot of my gripes about the earlier movies was that he was more of a regular guy and he would try to dip and dodge from things. And like, this was the first one where you really feel like he will stand there and you can swing something at him and he'll catch it and he'll kill you. And that's the Jason that I think we all know and love. And we kind of overlook some of the beginning Jasons where he's not as powerful.
Here's 4 years for Corey Feldman. You ready? 84, he did Friday the 13th, and he did Gremlins.
Oh wow, yeah, right.
85, he did Goonies. Then 86, he did Stand By Me. 87, he did The Lost Boys. And then 88, he did The Burbs. But that's a pretty good 4 years.
When did Part 5 come out?
Part 5 came out in 85.
So he does the little cameo in Part 5. So see, I think that kind of goes against what we said. So if Part 5 came out before Goonies, unless they knew Goonies was going to be that big, which I don't think.
But it was after Gremlins. And Gremlins was.
So Gremlins was a really big movie. So his price tag definitely went up a little bit there.
For a kid that's probably how old is he at that point? 12?
Yeah, roughly.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, it just goes to show you it's perfect timing. I don't know. I mean, his performance at the end was great. I don't know if that necessarily got him the role in Gremlins or any of the other things. I mean, I would assume if they were both made in the same time, then they didn't see Friday the 13th to cast him in Gremlins. So he just probably went to casting calls and he won those. But could you imagine if they made this movie 2 years later, we never get Corey Feldman at all because he'd be untouchable at that point.
Yeah, no, he would definitely not have done this franchise. I don't think at that point. I also give this number 4. I really enjoy this movie. Again, Feldman, Michael J. Fox's dad. It's
Marty
it's
McFly.
fun. Marty McFly. George McFly. I'm sorry.
He has a great dance scene in this movie. His dancing is impeccable.
So they pick him to be the nerdiest guy in every film. This guy can't get laid to save his life.
Plays it well. And his death is a really good death in the franchise, too.
Yeah.
He gets the
corkscrew.
Face.
God, where's the corkscrew?
Yeah.
Gets it right in the face.
Yeah, they're both fantastic. I give it number 4. I thought it was just fun, and I love the ending. I love that the Feldman character, Tommy Jarvis, tries to look like Jason. He's got to beat him. The kid prevails. I think Corey Feldman is one of the best parts of this movie. There's other parts. He's loving the monster mask, trying to show that guy that and all this other stuff. So I do put it high. Obviously, it was not really the final chapter, but an overall ranking, Dave had it at number 5. Dave is very different from a lot of us.
He had it.
I can't imagine
lower
four
than
movies
the
are
new
better
beginning.
than this.
Yeah, I still gotta look at the rest of his.
It's unbelievable to me that he thinks that there's 4 that are better than this. Where if they ended the franchise at this, it's a masterpiece. Like it's the perfect closeout. They kill him in a perfect way. Feldman absolutely shines in this movie. I mean,
you mentioned.
No, I forget. Does anyone remember the guy that comes over that he takes a liking to? He's there
Yeah.
for a reason.
He's
It's
there.
some
find his
previous
sister.
movie.
Yeah, very similar to the remake.
Yes, right.
His-
He's looking for his sister that he thought
His
Jason killed.
sister was killed in part 2. She's
Yes.
the one like who gets stabbed through, like her boyfriend's on top of her, and he stabs. Like, a
Yes.
spear
Okay.
through
Yeah, I
both
couldn't
of them.
remember which one it was, and I remember he was there looking for someone. So
Yeah.
again, just like that goes to why I like the remake. You know, and that's why I had the remake at 4 was they literally took that same storyline and squeezed it in as well. So it goes with squeezing the 4 storylines together into one movie.
It does have one of the worst character lines in the whole franchise, where the same guy you're talking about, he's in the basement looking for Jason or whatever, and there's like a scuffle in the dark, and then he's getting stabbed with like a gardening fork or something, and he's like, "He's killing me! He's killing me!" He's like sliding down the wall. It's like, okay, that was the worst part of the series, but
It's great. It is great, and it's got a rank
go
high.
look it up. Go look up "He's Killing Me." It's so funny.
That's going to bring us to Friday the 13th that you could see in 3D. And this is the first time we get the hockey mask. Anthony, what was your take on this movie?
Try to keep it pretty simple here. I had it at 6. I don't have it. It's right in the middle. It's not a bad movie. We do get that. Like you said, you get the hockey mask. You get the iconic hockey mask that is what he's known for. I like the way he gets it, taking it off of kind of a douchey guy that's wearing it. Who's playing tricks and stuff. I like that. That's kind of what I wish they would have did in the remake. A lot of the 3D stuff is just really corny. It's there to be there. I think the best one was maybe the arrow, shooting the arrow coming towards the screen. But it just doesn't age well at all to me. And again, that's because they try to capitalize on the 3D stuff, and it just didn't go anywhere. To me, it doesn't take it to a new level like Part 4 did. Part 4 really took the franchise to a new level. Part 3 feels like Part 2, just not as good of a cast, and the corny 3D stuff just to have 3D stuff really bothered me. There was just a lot of stuff that, again, it was just 3D to be 3D. So I got it at 6.
Herbie, what's your take?
Yeah, when I was a kid, like you were saying, you didn't really recognize that it wasn't actually Jason. It was like a fake Jason. You don't see like the detail. So I didn't see the 3D stuff. So I think my nostalgia around it formed before I could really see those things, and they bother me now. Like there's a scene where he's like using like a pool stick or something, and like the yo-yo. It's just stuff. Yeah, it's just gimmicks.
Yeah.
My uncle said
the yo-yo had nothing to do. We didn't need the yo-yo.
No yo-yo. And
to say we made a 3D movie.
Yeah. My uncle went to see it because it was 3D. He was like, our age or whatever, and he went to see it, and he was like, yeah, I just remember like the 3D sucked and the movie was okay.
It's Jason in a bar. It's Jason in a barn.
A little barn action. Sometimes he goes indoors, sometimes he doesn't. I like the soundtrack though. It's got a fun, disco-y, weird soundtrack. He gets his mask. Pretty solid and memorable. I like Shelley. People hate him a lot. I think he's the man. I empathize with him. A great kill where the guy is doing a handstand and he gets chopped in half, and then later he's like up in the boards, like totally cut.
Yeah, it's definitely top 5 kills.
Yeah, I was like, that was pretty cool. And then Jason looks good, so I put it at 4.
Fair
it's got
enough.
replayability for me.
And I don't. Oh my goodness, I don't have a picture of. Hold on. I don't have a picture of the actual movie poster. It didn't save.
That was the first outline.
Well, for example, what I love about the continuity in this movie to the next one is that they kept the cut in the mask, right? Yeah. Like that became that was one of the only pieces of continuity they kept through most of the franchise, was that the mask had that cut from the axe. But also we were talking about outfits and how does he get outfits, and they show it at the beginning of this one here. This is how he gets his outfit, right? So you see some kind of human element in him where he just killed people, right? What I like about this movie is that it takes place right after, right? And they were really good with that, with the transition into movies where it's like it happened immediately after, right? The first 3 movies are like that, just all in succession. It's within a couple days of each other kind of thing. But yeah, we see him get that, basically his kind of what he became known for was those coveralls versus the overalls and stuff that he has in part 2.
I like the gang too that they meet at the store and then they follow them. Some of it's okay. I mean, I have it ranked at number 7. Herbie, what was your score?
I put it at 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, it falls right in the middle of the pack for me because I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it was a lesser version of part 2 with a bunch of stuff in it. And if again, this was the Jason we started to become more known for, but continuity between 2 and 3, and we'll talk about 2 next, was when he's unmasked in those 2 movies, he's a totally different guy. So which way are we going at this point? And I don't know, even at the end, like when he's hanging and he lifts up the mask to make a face at her, why? Was that just another excuse to show his grotesque face?
He kind of peered at her. He's like, that is still you. He put it back down. All right, whatever.
Well, that's going to get us to so that's going to rank at number 5. So that does rank pretty high.
I like it there, though, because it is one of the originals. Yeah. It has that feel to it, but, it's not competing with, some of the top ones in the franchise.
It's one of the top earning ones in the franchise.
Makes sense.
At that point, yeah. I think people really did want this at that point. That's going to get us to Friday the 13th, Part 2. And this is where we are introduced to Jason Voorhees. Anthony, where's this rank for you? Or no, I'm sorry. Tell me how you feel about this movie. Then tell me how you.
Well, I just told you where it was. It's at 5.
Yeah, it's at 5. Okay.
So it's in the top half of the franchise for sure. Although at the beginning you said you love Potato Sack Jason, there he is.
Least favorite.
He's just so synonymous with the hockey mask that going back and watching it, it's tough. Again, maybe if I wasn't even alive when this came out. So maybe if I was a 13-year-old kid and I saw this, it would sit in a different place for me. But because he's so known as one thing and I see him as this with the overalls and the flannel, it doesn't come across, as scary to me in that sense. I think when he's unmasked, which I think you showed the picture earlier, it's terrible. The long red hair and beard and I think the bald Jason's better. Yeah, I don't like that Jason. I prefer that they retconned it and redid him and had a different look for part 3. But yeah, he's just a backwards hick, and I don't know. He's clumsy, and like I said, to me, I fell in love with the zombie Jason. Right, so Jason is an unstoppable force in my eyes. So when I have a guy, and I said this twice already, and I'll continue to go back to it, if I'm swinging a baseball bat at some serial killer guy, I don't like him dipping and dodging it. I like him to catch the bat and break it and stab me with it or whatever you're going to do. That's what's scary. Other than that, he's a regular dude. And you know what? In real life, I'm 6'3", 275. So I'm not really scared of this guy in overalls. Give me a machete and he can have a machete and let's go at it. So, there's no supernatural element to it. It just doesn't stand the test of time for me. Again, maybe if I saw it in a different phase of my life or I saw it in the order it came out, it might rank better for me, but it's not doing it.
See, for me personally, and Herbie, I'm gonna let you answer this in 1 second. I have it at number 1 because I feel it was the most realistic and the most true to story about Jason. Jason, if he's alive, he's a guy that's been living in the woods for whatever, 30 years, 20 years, whatever. This is the most realistic to the Jason character, in my opinion, that there is. To be a real horror, like a guy living in the woods who supposedly drowned. He may have seen his mother. I mean, he's got his mother's head. I mean, let's just talk about this. How the hell did he get that? So to me, I love this movie. It is my favorite of the franchise, period. and it's just back to basics. It's like, yeah, you have one, she's killing them, the counselors too, but now you got Jason like, no, you ain't gonna be in my woods, period. And yeah, he's a little bit more of a hillbilly Jason, but I think that's what Jason Voorhees truly should be.
If they thought that's what it should be, Dan, they would have kept it that way.
They would have made it.
There's a reason why
it's not marketable.
They changed exactly. So
because no one likes that idea.
Out of that's not a franchise maker.
I love it.
Why do you do this every time? You do this like I can't do any more of these with you. First, you tell me the Halloween remake is better than the original, and now you're going to tell me that Sack Face Jason is not only the best looking Jason, but it's the best movie in the franchise.
He's my favorite.
I can't do it with you.
I don't know what to say.
He lacks that menacing presence. I think that's what Ann's talking about. Because I remember,
but he's truly scary because he hasn't developed all that stuff yet.
Then he might as well kill me without the sack on, because I'd be more scared of the ugly creature that he is than him with the one-eyed sack. How do you see me with the one-eyed sack on?
Man.
Like, I'm gonna juke you. You can't see me when you got one eye poking out of a sack. Get out of here.
He does get beat on pretty easily.
He's better than what they want Victor Crowley to be. Right there.
They're both wearing overalls, I think. I think.
And I think Dave also had this at number one. Let me just check. But Herbie.
Well, that doesn't really help your argument, considering he goes to hell at like number 8.
Yeah.
Some positives are that it is one of the only final girls I remember the name of, Ginny, who
she was hot.
She's really good.
She's definitely top
really
3
solid.
final girls.
Yeah,
top 3 final girls for sure.
The final fight sequence is like, it's got to be like 20 minutes long of like
Way
him chasing, and it's just like there's no tension there. The atmosphere and the whole kind of tone of it in the first hour, I think, is really solid. It sets up like where some of them are left alone and they're just across the lake, and we know some stuff's already been going on. So
and you get the head
in that regard.
You get the head camp counselor telling you the whole lineage of Jason.
Right.
He thinks it's a legend, but it's not. What he's saying is true. That is very iconic in that scene too, because they used it in other movies before they show the movies. Like, I'm gonna give it to you straight about Jason. He doesn't buy it, and it turns out to be true.
Yeah, I do like the recap though. I think that is a positive light in the movie was the beginning, like getting that beginning recap taken off from the end of part 1. I think again, that's what they did with Halloween too, and I think it's a great transition between the movies for sure.
Herbie, what would you give it?
I put it at, let me pull this back up. For me, it's 5.
5.
It's pretty in the middle.
We'll do a quick average here. Dave knows what's up here.
I can't believe you put it at 1.
It's always been my favorite of the franchise. I can't lie about that.
I did like the house. The house creeped me out because I remember there were houses or sheds that would look like that. You drive around as a kid in backwoods New Hampshire. Oh,
this is going to put it at 3. We're going to have some difficulties here. We might have to round up. All right. This is going to take us to the original.
The OG.
And that's Friday the 13th.
Look at that poster.
That poster is amazing.
Phenomenal.
Just the outline of it. That's a problem, I think, nowadays with a lot of poster stuff. And you guys are probably noticing this too. Is all they do is just take all the actors and actresses that they have and put them all in this space, and there's no like artistic like putting together. There's nothing left for the imagination. Like this, you don't know who the killer is. There's a killer. It's in a wooded area with cabins. Like your mind just starts like going to all these places and like, who are they? Who's this person? Just so good. It's like, and the symmetry of it. Oh man, it's just so good.
Well, this was on a T-shirt at Newbury Comics, but they didn't have my size. They had like small and medium.
I have that one somewhere, but I went with the video game one. I'm going there in 2 weeks.
Is that your honeymoon, Herbie?
No, we did our honeymoon this weekend.
Okay. I was going to say, how'd you talk Michaela into that?
Into Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
She loves them. now that I watch them all the time, and she's like seen them in pictures. But no, it's like cool. It's just down in Hope, New Jersey. It's Camp Novi Bosco, and it's a Boy Scout camp, and they raise money, and they have this like production company come in and put up like pictures and stuff around the cabins that all still exist for the most part. I think 1 or 2 burnt down, but yeah, you pay, like I think it's like $150. You get like a souvenir. You get to watch the movie on the beach at night. You could do a canoe ride in the lake. It's pretty cool.
It's awesome.
It's through like Camp Blood or something like that. I
Oh,
remember the name
nice.
of the site. Yeah. So
How do you feel about number 1, the first movie?
number 1, I mean, iconic score, right? The or some people say ma ma ma, but I don't think that's it. Kevin Bacon, right?
I was happy about that.
Also the son of Bing Crosby, so that was neat. Betsy Palmer as Miss Voorhees.
She is absolutely terrifying.
She is. She played that super well. I think it's definitely scary. It was only made for $500,000, which blows my mind. It made $60 million, so huge success. Obviously, borrowing, if not stealing, directly from Halloween in terms of that genre. But it had its own twist where the mother was the killer, and they could have maybe played into that more, because I don't know if it was editing or whatnot, but there's no like real indication or clues that you could try to like solve who's the killer. Like maybe it's one of the counselors or stuff. There's just nothing there. Like all of a sudden she just shows up at the very end. So it would have been needed, like maybe if she was the cook at a diner or something like that, where she like was introduced early, and or she would swing by and be like, oh yeah, my kid would swim here and stuff. And I don't know, some more inclusion in that. But I put it at number 3 for me. But it started the whole thing. You can't have it. And I think it's just a good, scary movie.
I don't disagree there. Anthony, what do you think?
So like part 5, this was something that slid up and down my list as I did my 4 revisions. And I'll say that the point of view kills throughout the whole thing is really cool. It's what I loved about Halloween in the opening scene, when he puts the mask on and you see through the eyes. So I did like the POV stuff. Obviously the shock that it's the mom, but where I'm critical is just like Herbie said, is there was no seeds planted as to who she was. Could have had her somewhere. Could have just gave us something to try to solve, right? Like a game of Clue. And we really didn't. Like we didn't know what this movie really was. And I try to go back and watch these and forget about what happens after, right? Like you try to watch it as just, hey, this is a brand new movie that just came out. I don't know anything that's going to happen. And when you start picking out those kind of things, it doesn't feel as good as some of the other movies, just from an overall standpoint for just matching movies versus movies. However, the success of it absolutely helped launch Halloween 2, being my second, being my favorite franchise. Without the success of this, we don't get any sequels in Halloween. It just ends the way it ends. So that success obviously is what spawned everything, right? That's why we just talked about all these terrible slasher movies that came out after. Kevin Bacon kills awesome. Her hand comes up, grabs him by the forehead, sticks it right through the bed. I mean, just awesome kill, awesome kill, especially during the time. But I put it at 7.
Oh dang, it's gonna drop it.
Take it on the list. I had it above the remake at one point. And as I went back and watched all these movies and kept revising my list, it just kept dropping down more and more as I watched another movie. And I'm like, well, I like this better. I think this stands up better. This has, this or that. And again, just like Herbie said, one of those big deciding factors of what dropped it down a couple spots was just like, it's so much of the, oh, hey, how are you? Oh, I get killed. And it's like, well, who is it? And we get it at the end, but there's nothing for us to follow. And if I'm watching it as, again, someone that's never seen any of the movies before, it's a brand new movie. I don't know anything about it. I see the previews, Friday the 13th. What is this all about? Some kind of killer. And it's like, where's the real backstory? I feel like we don't get the backstory until the very end, and then the beginning of part 2 is like we really start to understand what it's all about.
Yeah.
I think without the sequel, it's not. It kind of goes back to what I was saying about part 5, where if they would have continued the Tom Jarvis storyline, it would have been a better movie. I feel the same thing about this. I feel like if you take the sequels away, granted, it launched the genre, but that was in 1980, right? In 2021, if I'm going back and watching it and no other sequels exist after it, I'm like, it's a cool horror movie.
Yeah. I mean, Scream did it, right? They had the people in it the whole time, and it could have been someone, and you're like, oh, definitely is a boyfriend.
I think that's what makes that movie great, right? It's like we're trying to figure out who it is.
It's
At
two
least
people.
have hints.
Yeah.
I gotta say though, I have it at number 3. She's absolutely terrifying at the end. I don't think she did it alone. I think Jason was already alive. I mean, well, we knew he was already alive. And you're telling me that this how old would we say? She's 50 years old. She's putting thing through the bed to kill Kevin Bacon. I'm not really sold on that. I think Jason was helping.
Adrenaline.
I guess, but it seemed that she got fired up when she started talking about it. Well, if she's killing Kevin Bacon from under the bed, no one's saying, hey, you're not bringing up what happened to her kid. So, but as a whole, it's classic. It's unbelievable. I think it's an unbelievable movie. I would have liked maybe to try to figure out who it is. I think they did a better job here than they did with A New Beginning. But it kind of lays the foundation for the whole series. And then at some point they said, well, the only way we're going to make money is off of Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, like if she was a cook, right? Remember she said I think she was a cook or something when Jason was the cook, counselor. Yeah. And what if she was like in the movie from the beginning, like, oh, like I'm gonna be the cook, and like, oh, my kid even went here. Like she just talks about how her kid went there, but then she doesn't say like what happened 100%. To him. Yeah. Now that I'm thinking about it, we could have made a better movie.
Like if they do that gets right to my top 3, I think, just because there's more to it. Again, when I go back and watch it, I don't know. I don't know if it drags for me or because I know what's going to happen, but I'm trying to watch it as if I don't know. It's just I don't know. It's like cool cult classic. I know it made the genre what it was. It brought it to popularity. But it's just again when I compare it to the other movies that I've put ahead of it, it's like those are just more enjoyable to me.
Mm-hmm. And Crazy Ralph told them the whole time. There was a death curse.
It's got a death curse.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think if I'm looking at this list, this is tough. So we get the remake, it's a 7.5. Jason X gets a 6, which seems a bit high. Yeah. Jason Goes to Hell gets a 10.2. Yeah, the math could be off. Freddy vs. Jason gets 11.5.
Give me those Jason X numbers really quick.
We got 5, 3, and 10. So I might have done that wrong. No, I don't. We'll see.
Jason X, you're definitely reading that wrong.
No, but I also we didn't have a score from Dave.
Yeah, but I mean, I had Jason X at 11.
Did you divide it by 3 or 4?
Oh, I might have read. I wrote in the wrong place.
Yes,
that is not right. This board's gonna need some editing here.
TLC. Well,
the problem was I messed up Freddy versus Jason, and I didn't put it on the board, so this might be a little out of whack. But the consensus here is the final chapter has the lowest number that I see.
There we go. The board.
Yeah.
At 2.5.
I think I said this in the text message conversation, but generally for me, the top 3 and the bottom 3 are like the same. Like those aren't going to change much for me. Or even I'd say the top 4 and the bottom 4, but like the middle change a lot, kind of depending on my mood and what kind of movie I want, So I think we're going to see probably 2 groups, and then the middle is going to be all over the place. We're going to have differing opinions on that.
Well, final chapter.
I feel the same. I think at least the bottom 2, I feel like for everyone besides Dave, who's, I don't know. But Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X kind of just fall in that 11, 12 spot.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
doesn't make sense. 6,
Yeah.
that's too high.
You know, I think those two movies fall in that last two. I think those are guaranteed. And like I said, those top two for me, I think it might be the same for you, Herbie, is 6 and 4, right? 6
Yeah.
being the second and 4 be so. You know, I think for me and you, we stand the same on those two. For me, I think it differs a little bit with 3, and I think 3 is more my watchability standpoint, which is why I put Freddy vs. Jason. It's just because of the easiness that I don't. Most Friday the 13th movies, I won't stop in the middle to watch them. I'll either sit and watch them all the way through on a marathon, or I won't watch them at all. But Freddy vs. Jason, because of the action aspect, I treat it like I treat Terminator, and just like, hey, it's on. 20 minutes left, I'll throw it on and watch it. So that watchability factor, or the rewatchability factor, is what catches that into the 3 spot. But you know, I could probably slide again. I think that could change, but definitely the top 2 and the bottom 2, I think, are almost a consensus for any avid Friday the 13th watcher.
Yeah, I mean, the final chapter is obviously the winner. It had 2 1s, so that's a big deal. Part 2 had 2 1s. Final chapters at 2.5. Part 2's at a 3. Jason Lives at 3.25.
So that's 1, 2, 3.
So, and then and then the original 3.75.
So you guys brought the part 2 down into that.
Yeah, because the only ones that got 2 1s, final
5.
chapter and 2.
Yeah, so then, you guys vote in part 2 as number 1, and me and Herbie putting it at a 5 and a 6. I think, you know, that put it in the 2 spot, because again, I know it's your favorite, but I think part 6 is the better. The 2.
Part 6 is right up there though. It has 3 2s and a 7. Dave tanked it. Did not like that average on there. I thought
it was too funny. That's often the one where it's like, oh, it's too goofy. Like, I think it's self-aware at that point. It's a 6th movie, you know.
New Blood 8.5.
I think it breathed new life into the movie.
It was fun.
Yeah,
it's like a popcorn movie. You know.
New Beginning was 6.5.
Alice Cooper singing the song.
Oh, that was the song that we started with.
So New Blood is what comes after. I know I'm asking you to do a lot of math right here.
Yeah.
So based on our rankings, we have.
So you got
4 being the best one, then 2, then 6. What comes in the 4th place?
All right, hold on a second.
What's the next closest?
So we got. Let me just. So we got 1 at final chapter, 2 part 2, 3 the original,
part 6.
4,
3 should be part 6.
Oh yeah, you're right. Part 6 is 3.2. Original at 3.75, so that's 4.
Yep. I tanked the original on you guys. So
3D gets a number 5. Gets 5. A New Beginning was 6. New Blood 7. No. Remake 7. New Blood 8. Manhattan 9. I feel like I was off on Jason versus Freddy, though.
What was that? I'll run the numbers really quick.
I had I don't have. Oh, dang it. Hold on. We can look this up.
I have it at 3. What do you have it at, Herbie?
I had it at 10.
10. And then
I had it at.
I had to make room for the originals.
I had it at 5. I don't know. I don't think Dave had it at all.
No, he didn't have it all. You said he didn't. So.
Yeah.
By the way he's grading, he might.
So it falls at 6, and that's because I brought the rating way up.
So that's
actually no, he didn't have at 5. So really, Herbie tanked it backwards. It probably would have landed right around 3 and 5 in that range.
So
yeah, so that's
what
6.
What was the score for that?
6.
So that was what the average was too?
Yeah. That was the average.
So then the remake comes after that.
So where does the number as a ranking of 6? Where does it fall on there compared to the other averages?
Falls right behind the New Beginning.
The New Beginning. So what's that make that?
Oh man.
So the first one is 4.
4,
Second one is 2.
2,
Third one is 6.
6.
Fourth one is 1.
1. So we're at 4. So then 5
It was
is
3D, right? 5 was 3D. you said?
3D.
Yeah, what was the score on that?
5. It's
5.
actually
Okay.
5, yeah. So then New Beginning got a 6.5.
So that means Freddy vs. Jason beat that. So Freddy vs. Jason 6.
Okay, so then 7 New Beginning.
Yep.
Mhm.
Really?
And then the remake.
Wow, really? The New Beginning hit that high?
Yeah.
Who brought it up there?
Dave freaking loved it. He put it 4.
That's why. That should not be there. No way.
That puts
It's not-
man,
it's-
Not
I don't
top
care
4.
about I know the Carrie storyline we didn't like. And like Jason takes me, but it's like I don't know. I
so Manhattan gets a 9.
feel like New Blood should be ahead of that. New Blood's past Manhattan.
Yeah.
That's because of you. Because you tanked. That was your worst movie, right?
Yeah. I couldn't
You
stand
tanked
it.
Oh man, that's crazy. There's no
be a-
way
should be a
that New
bell
Blood
curve,
is
huh?
worse than Manhattan and
Yeah.
New Beginning.
So
No,
then it goes.
that's got to be like number
Some
7.
people
Maybe
say
8. I would put it at 8 because I think the remake should be ahead of that, but that's got to be lower.
yeah.
So
There's
then
a
that,
camp of people that say because it's not Jason, they like kick it all the way down the line. up
I've
to,
seen
like,
for New Beginning. I've seen it the last one.
they take nothing else into consideration. They just say,
Yep.
yeah, New
It's not
Beginning,
Jason, it's
not
12.
Jason.
Yep.
Right at the end.
I couldn't do that. I had to put that
Yeah.
ahead of a couple movies because it's still better than 9 and 10.
I mean, when I do the ranking and I put Season of the Witch and Halloween, that's not the worst Halloween movie.
No, it's
Out of
not.
the franchise, you know.
Hmm.
So where are we at? What was the last one we did? It was
Last one was New Blood.
so
Yeah, that
then
Blood.
and then so then Manhattan. No, Manhattan's behind New Blood. Sorry.
Good.
Okay. This is really hard to follow. This board.
Why don't you just tell me the scores and I'll write them?
All right. So the remake 7.5.
Hold on. I'm gonna get my notes out here.
You're gonna have to do the Jason X score.
So remake is 7.5. Yep.
Okay. Jason X, we're not sure. It was 5, 11, and 10.
5, 11, and 10.
So we got Jason
That's
goes.
26. 5, 11, 10.
I think so.
Yeah, 5, 11, 10 divided by 3. That puts it at like an 8 something.
Oh man, is this right? Jason
Kirby,
goes
can you
to
do that
hell.
math real quick?
Yeah, was it 5, 11, and 10?
Yep. 26 divided by 3.
So Jason goes to hell is a 10.2.
Hold on, we only had 3 rankings for Jason X?
Yes, because hold on, let me check Dave's. He missed
No.
one.
Yeah, but yeah, he missed Freddy vs.
Oh
Jason.
no, I'm sorry. He has 11. He has 11 for that.
So who had it at
That's
5?
good.
You're reading it wrong. You got to be
I'm
reading that one wrong.
I messed this up somewhere.
Yep.
So Jason X, he does that. All right,
So Jason X was 11 for me. It was 12 for Herbie, right?
Yep,
Mhm.
it was.
It was 11 for Dave.
It was not. Oh man, I fucked this up somewhere.
What
All
was
right.
it for you? You don't have your list?
No, I do. It was 11.
11. So 3 11s and a 12, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty
33, it's
firmly last.
45 divided by 4.
All right, so that's Jason X.
It's 11 something. 11.4, 11.2,
Yeah.
11.25 maybe.
11.25, yeah.
There we go. Look at that. I threw out a couple numbers. I knew one of them would be right. All right, Jason X. What's next? Tell me the next one.
Jason goes to hell.
Yep.
So then I had 10. Dave had 8. Herbie, what'd you have?
11.
I
11.
had 12.
Okay.
20, 31, and you had at what, Dan?
I had it at 10.
So 41 divided by 4,
Yeah.
so 10.25, right? Something like that. What's next?
So then we got Jason Takes Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
I had that at 9. Dave has that at 10. Herbie?
I had it at 8.
You have mine behind you. Can you see it?
And you had it at 9.
Whoops, I messed it up. Of course I did, right?
We should have hired someone to be like the math person on this.
I got it. All right, what's the next one?
So then we got a New Blood. I get it at 12. Dave has it at, where the heck is it? 6. He had it at 6.
Oh, that's high. You're super low and he's super high on that.
Yeah. Herbie?
I'm 7.
7.
Middle of the pack. Kind of guy.
I don't know. What's mine? You can see it behind you.
And you had 8.
8. All right. So what was the next one?
So then we had Jason Lives. And I went 2, you went 2, Herbie went at 2, Dave went at 7.
Wow, that's crazy. What was it was 3 point something on there? You have it on there. It's correct.
Yeah, it was 3.25.
All right. What's the next one?
So then we have A New Beginning. And I think this is accurate. So
Yep.
I had 6. Anthony, you had 10. Herbie 6. Is that what you had, Herbie?
For number 6?
For New Beginning.
Number 5.
Oh, I had it for 6. Yeah.
And then Dave had it at 4.
Wow, you guys had it high. What was the average there? Do you have the average written down?
And I had the average as 6.5.
Wow, you guys went high on that one.
It's been, I don't know. I've liked it lately.
What's the next one?
So then a final chapter. This one I think is the undisputed champ.
Yep, that's 2.5?
Yep, I had 4. You had 1. Herbie had 1. Dave had 5.
5. To not even have it in your top 4 blows my mind.
And then we got
Wish he was here to defend himself.
Dave, he's got to be out of work by now. But so then 3D, we got 7, 6, 4, 3. Average score was a 5. So then part 2, me and Dave pulled this one up.
1. Yep.
Yeah, 1. Anthony 5. Herbie 5. Dave 1. Average score 3.
Me and Herbie, we line up on a lot of these.
Yeah.
And then the original, I got 3. Anthony's at 7. Herbie at 3. Dave at 2. 3.75.
I tanked that one on you guys.
But he puts the
Yeah.
original higher.
There's one more, right? Freddy vs. Jason.
Yeah, and this is the one that got all messed up.
Yeah, we have 3 on it. That's fine.
So I had a 5.
Yep.
Dave didn't score it. Herbie, what'd you have?
At a 10.
Yep.
I'll take this one.
Yeah, so that brought it to a 6. So the order, the official order, you want to go backwards or forwards?
Yeah, let's go from least to greatest.
So the worst consensus, Jason X is the worst Jason of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I'm with
agreed.
Then it goes, Jason Goes to Hell.
It sucks.
And I would think that aside from maybe Dave doing some craziness, I think we can all agree those are the 2 worst Jason movies. Interchange the order. Doesn't matter. They're terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Next,
As much as I hate 7, I might hate those more, but you know.
Next is Manhattan
That makes sense.
at 9. At 10. And then it goes New Blood at 9.
Yeah.
I wish that was a little higher. I'll be honest with you. I have it higher, I think. I think I have it
me
at
too.
8. 7 or 8. I think it could be a little bit higher there. Then next is the remake. The remake. So what's that? 8?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the remake falls at 8. Then we got some good ratings here, which I'm shocked by, but we have The New Beginning at number 7.
That's a shocker.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where I think you guys had it ranked, right? Right around that area.
I was 6.
You were
Yeah.
6, right? And Dan was a 6.
Yeah.
And I
Yep.
tanked it with a 10, I think. So, I mean, it really fell around where you guys picked it after the average. It was right around there.
It's an enjoyable movie, you know.
Then number 6 was Freddy vs. Jason. Falls right dead in the middle. I think good, nostalgic, action-packed movie. Then we have 3D coming in at number 5.
Yep.
Then we go to the top 4, which starts with the original at number 4.
Fine with that.
Number 3 is Jason Lives, Part 6
Which was
in
a
the
little
franchise.
And that got a lot. That got 3 2s.
I think it
And
should be at 2.
And
I
then
don't
Dave
think it's 3.
tanked it. Dave tanked
high.
it.
Dave definitely tanked it. I think he needs to go back and watch it. It's the Jason that we all know and love.
So solid. It's the
Um,
man behind the mask.
Number 2 is number 2. So you guys both put that number 1. I think that should be lower. Personally, I think Herbie agrees.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I love it.
Yeah.
I don't think that should be that high
Number
up on.
5.
Yep, I think it needs to. It shouldn't be in the top 3 personally. And then the undisputed number 1, Jason Friday the 13th movie is Part 4, the final chapter.
Definitely.
That's
Introduction
wild.
of Corey Feldman. Great kill.
Great cover art as well on that one with the mask and the knife going in the eye.
Yes,
hole.
the blood pouring out. Absolutely.
Ah, man.
People do love that movie, and I do love it too. It's just I think I had it at. Oh, did I have it at 4? Yeah,
I think it stands the test of time. It has scary moments. We start to get a little bit more of that supernatural Jason in it. Not that backwoods hick that you like that dips and dodges and is scared of people hitting him with things.
most
That
realistic.
cabin.
though.
Yeah, and he takes the sack off his head and he's just a disgusting freak with long hair.
The Jarvis household is nice.
So I will say something I didn't say earlier, but regarding and you guys know this is my theme is the continuity issue. But did you guys notice at which movie? Maybe it's I don't know which one it is, but randomly Jason starts having hair again.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
I forget which one it is, but he starts to have hair again. He's not bald, and
Pretty
don't-
sure it was on the 7th. He had a little bit.
yeah.
Well, here he is, and then the remake.
That's the remake. Yeah. So the remake tried to go with the guy that you like, which is,
Yeah,
and then this one is just grotesque, but he has hair there.
Yeah,
Let me see. No, that's not him at
I think
all.
That's not him.
7.
Oh my god.
But yeah,
The
they
shot
went a
you have
few-
for 7, you can't really see, but I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of wispy hair on the back of his.
Yeah, it's like they had hair in part 2. They got rid of it for about 4 movies, and then all of a sudden he started having like this little
Yeah.
peach fuzz hanging off his head. And I would say that is my biggest issue with the franchise overall, besides the fact that I am being a fan of Halloween. Obviously, I'm storyline driven. That's what Halloween is. There's a real story behind it. And I know you don't need that for a slasher movie. And that's why I've always favored Michael Myers over Jason, because Jason isn't storyline driven. It's just more the fun of the kills. But the continuity between characters, going back, and the fact that over the last 5 days, I've watched all of these movies aside from Freddy vs. Jason, and every one of them is so different than the other. It's crazy. Like,
But they
again,
tried.
when I compare it to Michael Myers. Michael Myers through 9 movies was the same build, like, same mannerism, same character, different masks, which is easy to explain. He finds different masks and puts a different mask on. It's not the same mask every movie. But when you're talking about a guy's hair, the way he looks like with his mask off, his body, his mannerisms, like this character has changed so much, and it's one of the biggest gripes that I think really just gets me a little upset with the franchise.
Yeah, they don't have the continuity. They try to go in different directions, and I think you can do spin-offs, but at times it doesn't really work.
You can tell that there was always different people involved in the franchise, right?
Yeah.
Different makeup guys, different directors. Like you can always tell that there was someone different that wanted to put their little twist on it, what they think he should look like. And I think when you're doing a franchise, you can't have that unless you're having different killers, like a Scream type of movie. So, without that, the continuity really bothers me, especially when I say my favorite is New Blood, right? Is this crazy zombie bone showing and stuff. Then the next one we go into, although it's still Kane Hodder, you go into Manhattan, he's noticeably smaller because he's not all big and beefy with all the bone showing. And now none of his bones are showing. He just got this wet, slimy suit on. And it's like, those are just drastically different characters.
No, very much agreed. It is it's quite the franchise. We were able to rank these. I hope everybody enjoyed tuning into this. I appreciate you guys, Anthony, Herbie. We are going to do a Nightmare on Elm Street as well.
Oh, man.
You guys are more than welcome to be a part of that. Maybe Dave can get the night off. I don't know. We'll have to see.
You better to explain rankings like that.
Dave absolutely has to get in the comments or something, or he at least. As a matter of fact, as soon as I get off here, we're going right to our Facebook chat, and he has some explaining to do.
He's got a lot to explain, but everybody out there, continue to keep your heads up. If you're asked to wear a mask, do so. Please rock the Friday the 13th. Enjoy Friday the 13th on Friday, which is why we did this episode.
Watch the movies.
Tomorrow, we'll be back in studio. I'm actually going to have my father in studio, Bill Bollier, always the character. Let's see what he has to say tomorrow. But until next time, let freedom ring.
Ooh.